And we are live with Chad Hesser from Hesser Drywall. And the crowd goes wild. Um, usually I'll have a little bit of a talk with people before we hop on, but it's you, buddy. I'm like, no, let's just jump right into it.
Yeah, dive into the deep end.
So you were just saying it's been a couple of weeks, man. Like, you had three houses on the go last week.
Yeah, we put a bed coat on the fourth one today, and then Scott's hanging one Monday, and then we got two good sized fresco jobs coming up too. So it's just never stopping.
Man, it's like you've tapped into that vein of like exactly where you need to be.
Oh yeah, it's a good thing, but at the same time too, it's just creates so much anxiety. But yeah, it's a good
Wow.
problem to have.
Yeah, I mean, for a business owner, that is a really good problem to have. But on the same hand, like, how do you ever take vacation? How do you ever see your friends? However, you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. So I think you've kind of figured that out a little bit where it's like when we come down there, we can work and we can all hang out. But like, I mean, you would never see anybody if you didn't do that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Either that, I would just give jobs away to somebody else.
Yeah. Well,
I've
and I
done
mean,
that quite a.
and when you're doing that, it's like you're getting a percentage of that too. So it's like you've really got it figured out down there, man.
Yeah, so it helps having my buddy Scott on board, and then to be honest, we don't have much competition, and what competition we do have, we draw them in to help us out. So I mean, it's like we help them out, they help us out. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, anywhere else on the planet, you and Scott would hate each other.
Probably we've talked about that.
I bet. I bet. But that is kind of the key, like finding, your greatest adversary kind of and turning that into a positive thing, like having him board out your houses so you don't have to worry about it. And like some of the houses, they'll tape it out for you too, and then you're just coming in and running. It's just brilliant. Um, Everybody's making money, everybody's moving. That's so smart. And then when you get overwhelmed, you could turn to them and be like, "You want to take this one?" And you can't lose doing that, dude.
Oh yeah, and that's kind of how we bid houses too. Kind of going off that, we got one that we just bid on that the people were looking for hang finish and paint.
Hmm.
Obviously, I can't do that, but that's what he does. So, and ironically, they had contacted him too for hang finish and paint. So we call each other. It's like, hey, this person's asking for this. Have they contacted you? And we're like, yeah. So we put all our numbers together, and I turned them in all as one, and he just kind of said, okay, I'll do the same thing. And so they're calling me because I was one they were recommended to. So yeah, he's going to hang and paint, and then I'm going to finish. And then at the end of the day, if I just can't get to it, then he's going to finish it, and he's getting the same price because we put in the same price. And in all reality, we charge the same across the board anyway, so it makes it easy on both of us.
Well, I mean, that level of quality, it's not up or down, right? And I mean, when people are kind of pushed towards you, you're recommended. It's because of your finishing. Like the boarding really doesn't matter when you're as good as you are finishing, and then painting. Like, I mean, anybody can do that, but he's probably the big dog out there doing that. So who else would you have paint it? It doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah, so we got two big painters in the area, and that's him and the other guy that usually follows me. So either way, I'm good to go because both I take care of both of them guys. They take care of me, and we got this whole little network going. And there's no hard feelings. There's no arguments. We all talk, and it's like, hey, there's an issue. Okay, we'll take care of it. Sometimes they take care of it for us, but for the most part, not tooting my own horn, but there's not too many issues. So
For sure. Yeah, and I mean, like realistically, if there ever is an issue, you guys have got three or four houses in the next week or two that you're doing together anyway. So like for it to wash out, I can't imagine it's ever an argument.
nah, that's not.
Yeah.
And there was one here lately that we had. Yeah, we fell short on quality on a few spots, and it was actually called out to me. And yeah, just Scott's boy took care of it, and he
Nice.
like, hey, I just want to see what was going on, and went in there and looked at it. I was shaking my head and I was like, oh my God. But you know, every once in a while you can't always be held to perfection. So I mean, every once in a while you're going to get something that catches you. But
Well, and I mean, you personally can't be,
6, 7 houses, so it was crazy.
and you can't be everywhere all the time. Like
Yeah,
it's,
and that was the thing. I was having subs in there, and then that's what bit me in the butt. So
yeah. Yeah, I mean, short of having a quality control guy go around and double check everything, it's almost impossible to knock every single one out of the park. It's just the way that it is, especially like you've got new people that you want to be trying out, or like you said, you got like 6 projects on the go and it's like we have to get out of this today or whatever that it is, right? Those things come up. But the difference is when you have the integrity to deal with the issues. That's the big thing. I think we find that a lot out here where somebody will come in and do a shit job, but they're like, I got paid for this, I'm not coming back. And
yeah,
it's just like you burn a bridge, but you just move on to the next 100 bridges, and the guy's replaced right away. Out there, it's a little bit of a different game.
no, yeah, just a conversation I had with a homeowner this morning. Told him he was done, collected a check, and he's like, "All right, so if I find any issues, do I just call you, or what do we do?" And I was like, "No, you call me." And I was like, "As soon as you find them," I was like, "I'll either be there toward the end of the day or first thing the next morning." He's like, "Oh, that quick?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." I was like, "The sooner I can help you and the painter out, I mean, the better it is for everybody else." Because you know, at one point, if there is an issue, I'm going to be held up because I got to go back and fix it. The painter's
That's
going to be
right.
held up. So I got to come back and fix it. So it all comes back to me. So it's like I got to take care as soon as possible. That way, everybody's happy and everybody's, I guess, conserving time, not much saving time. I mean, yeah, if I'm going to wait 2 weeks to go back, then everybody's at a standstill. So it's like, yeah, just do it now.
Well, and these are guys that you work with all the time, and knowing that, you know that you're killing them, right? They were supposed to be in there on Monday, and you had issues on Friday, but you didn't go fix them. Like that's a real problem for some people. And I mean, like when I was down there last, we talked about, you had a situation with Borders where they were like, yeah, yeah, we're almost done or whatever. But it's like you're not done, and why are you telling me you're almost done? It's just so crazy, man. And framers are bad too, right? Where they're like, you can make a house look like it's half done with it not being half done because it's like you got studs up, you got this happening, you got that happening, but it's not finished. So, when the client comes to give you a little bit of press on time, like you can do a little dance for them, but that kills everybody because now they're getting a hold of you for board and him for tape and this person for paint. And you just got to line up all the dominoes. But if the first one's not ready to get knocked over, it just screws everybody up.
Oh, yeah. And it creates a whole new domino effect. That's not good.
Literally, yeah. And I mean, in a guy in your position, that's not a terrible thing. Like when you by accident end up having a couple of days off, it's probably nice to just to breathe. Like we spent the whole day watching the eclipse. I never would have done that. And it's like 30 years or something till the next one. And it's
Yep.
like it was cool to just take some time to watch the eclipse. I never would have done that. It's like a thing that's happening in the sky that has nothing to do with me, but it was cool, man.
Normally, we probably would have been at a job somewhere. We're like, oh, okay, that's cool. Okay, let's get back to work.
Exactly. Like, can somebody text me when it's happening perfectly and I'll go look? Man, that congestion from the eclipse. When I first saw like a clip on the internet about how like 100,000 people are going to be going through the Midwest kind of to chase it. I was like, that's stupid and that's never going to happen. And the clip said that they would be like closing schools and doing this and doing that. But after like seeing it from where
Yeah.
you were, there was like 100 times the people that are usually there. And it was like leaving town, no problem. Coming into town, you can't even see the end of the cars. And it was like, this is insane, man.
I was even surprised. I was like, yeah, it's not going to happen around here. We're just out in the middle of the cornfield. Who the hell's going to come here? But yeah, they
Oh,
were
yeah,
coming from. Oh,
they came. That's for sure.
yeah, it was no. So yeah, that's why I say we're just going to stay out here at the house.
I kind of wanted to like, well, for starters, we're out there talking to one of the builders, and the podcast got brought up, and I was like, yeah, Chad's been on it. And then we kind of looked at each other and it's like, no, I don't think he has. Which is so weird because we've worked together so
Oh,
much and we've like spent so much time together, right? It was just weird that it had never happened. But I was going to kind of go through a little bit of that timeline of like what's happened in the last year, because I've definitely done that with Cam and Aaron, but really all of these adventures started with us.
right.
Coming down to do that fresco job. And I mean, out of chance, we met in Vegas. And the one thing that I've said numerous times on the podcast was I was there for obvious reasons. Cam was there for obvious reasons. And then here's Chad. Oh, well, what's your handle? Well, this is my handle, but I don't do anything on Instagram. And then we kind of look around like, then what the fuck is he doing here? And it's your work. It's the quality of work that you do and like the volume of work that you do with the fresco. Like realistically, you were the guy to talk to at that show. Nick was, but I mean, anybody that's selling a product, it's different. When you're kind of like the lead hand, if you will, like Nick's got what the hell's his name? The guy that works down there with him.
Oh, Jack. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, he's probably done the most of anybody that's not Nick, but I mean, he doesn't love it, you know.
Yeah. He likes it. He's content.
He's content. That's right. Um, yeah, man. So we like met in Vegas and then we stayed in touch. And then there was this big fresco job to do, and we all kind of got uh called in for it. And then it just took off, man. Like I think I've been down there 3 times now.
Yep.
And then Cam's now been there twice. You just had the girls down there last week, and I mean, it seems like a slam dunk every time.
Uh, I tell you what, I bragged a lot about them two girls, Gilbert girls, Allison and Kayla. You see their work on on Instagram. It looks good. You know it's good. But man, when you see them work in person, that's a totally different story. I mean,
Yeah.
that's something amazing. And then it's kind of like Alice and I were talking yesterday a little bit. It's like just the fact that yeah, it's kind of like you never stop learning. You got to have an open mind about new ideas. And obviously, it's like they do knife and trowel. I'm 100% machine,
Hmm.
and within a couple of days, we found a way to make it all work, and it actually worked out perfectly. And it's just they were amazed by how I do everything by machine, and I was amazed by how they do like maybe like 25% machine work, but then everything else is by knife and trowel. And it's just like to me, it's just changed my ideas how I want to do a few things. I told them about it, and hit on points that things I do want to change, and like even the ideas of like assessing the process and readjusting throughout the project that you're doing. It was kind of cool just to have two different techniques. I mean, two totally different techniques, and then bring them together. And it's like, now how cool is this that we can make it actually work when everybody else be like, no, you can't do that. It's like, no, we made it work perfectly. And I tell you what, it's like I was boxing butts and they were troweling them. And when I got done, I was like, their butt joints were by far superior to mine with a
Mm.
box. And they've done both coats by hand. So that to me, that's extreme talent.
Well, and the nice thing, at least with me, when you're using machines on your butts, that first coat, that first coat really does set it up of how you're creating that feather, right? Like it sets up the two speed bumps, you fill it in, you feather it out, and you're done. It takes a lot of skill to do a butt joint by hand and not just take all the mud off the wall. Like do you know what I mean? Like you're a regular person that boxes trying to do that by hand, it's that tape's going to be exposed almost every time, or there's going to be way too much mud on the wall. So
And
it's
they ran butts in two different houses. Was the first one there was a lot of butts, but two different houses, both houses, every single one they ran by hand was perfect.
yeah, it's
Good.
mint.
And man, I ran my hand across it. I took the 32-inch tomahawk, put up there on it, put a level on it. It's like you can't argue with it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's my biggest thing is I take that tomahawk and I put it across them. It's like, is this kind of flat? Like, is this the illusion of flat over 32 inches? Yeah, it is, you know? And it's interesting when you talk about technique because you and I and Cam, you know, I think our techniques are probably a little bit different, but they're on the same end of the spectrum. When you're talking about the girls, they're on the complete opposite side of the spectrum, hand finishing 100%, as opposed to machines. Like that is totally one side or the other. And then, you know, being able to jive with all that, I think it's incredible. It takes a lot more skill, I think, to be doing things by hand, unless you're at like a Brad Hanna level where you are so dialed in with those machines, there's no need for hand finishing, if you know what I mean. But it's yeah, it's interesting. I'm super excited to work with them. I'm super excited.
Even when they run their flats, the first coat, they still box it. That's the only thing they use the machine on is their flats on first coat. But was like even their first coat on the flats. I mean, it was yeah. I mean, they knew what they were doing with the boxes. I mean, it was perfect. As I walked through it, I was like, that looks like my finish coat.
Yeah, right. You know, even Cam, for the amount of time that I've spent with Cam, I've never finished drywall with him, which it seems to be ridiculous because that's what we all do. But it's either been fresco work or like we were able to get out west just to kind of hang out that one weekend, which was really nice, man. Like I I think it hit me when I got off the plane where I was like, we're not doing anything this weekend. Like we're just gonna hang out. We went and saw the house and we went and saw Columbia Tools and like did that kind of stuff. But like it was nice to just get together and not be working.
Oh,
It was kind
yeah.
of foreign, but it was nice.
Yeah. It's kind of like was it about a month or so ago we done it again. So yeah, it's kind of nice.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited, man. It's and Surrey's coming up. I talked to the boarders today. They should be done everything except the attic today.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. It's kind of weird though. So those guys come in and they've got scrap everywhere and we're like, "Hey, when are you scrapping out?" And they're like, "Oh, we don't do that."
Oh,
And I was like, what do you mean you don't do that? And they're used to tower work and all that kind of stuff where you, I guess, just leave your garbage and a laborer comes and gets it. And then moving sheets up to the attic, I'm discussing with them how much extra they want to pick up a sheet and move it because they don't move material either. You put the material in the room and we will finish it. And I was just like, oof. But
that's old school hanging there. I got one around here like that. He doesn't scrap out, and if it's just put in the house wherever, he's going to charge you to move it. But
yeah,
yeah, it's old stuff.
it's a little insane when you think about it, but also what they're quoting is like a third of what we quote up here. So I kind of get it a little bit, but man, I was like shocked when we had that conversation where I was like, did you give a formal quote or something that says that? And they're like, no.
Well, maybe should have given me a heads up.
Well, and that's kind of the conversation I had with them. I was gentle about it, but I was like, man, you know, what are you talking about? But I guess, you know, if that's where you're coming from, you know, maybe we should have known, but I don't know. I doubt it. Like that just seems like because there are places up here too. Like when you're doing townhouse work up here, you walk into a unit, all your mud's there. You don't scrape the floors. You don't do your touch ups. You just go in, get out, you know. Um, yeah, I don't know. But custom houses, man, that's a little different, man. It's a different monster, right?
Yeah, it's like hangers. Like I said, I got the one hanger. He doesn't scrap out. He just leaves everything lay where it is. But that's why I like calling Scott because we're both on the same page as far as like how we finish, how we want to walk into a job. Hangers hang, they clean up their mess. We walk in, we put paper down on the floors, we finish, we pull the paper, we sweep up, get out. I mean, it's yeah, custom residential is a lot different than say, I guess, commercial. So
Totally.
I started in a commercial a while back and got out of it real quick. So I can't play politics. I'm not going to sit there and go to
So
the bar
stupid.
and have beers with the guys and sit there and rub elbows with them. It's like I don't care. It's like
No.
I just want to work and get a check. And I was like, but yeah, it's I guess it's a little bit different when you get commercial guys going into residential. They're different mindsets, different ideals, and yeah, it is what it is. But at the same time, too, what we've done sometimes with this old school hanger was, hey, bud, we'll give you an extra couple $100 if you just throw their scraps in a pile outside.
Yeah, just do it, and then we'll pay you
Yeah,
to do it.
I guess it only takes them like an hour. They're going to get like a couple $100 versus like, oh yeah, we're getting $200 an hour.
Well, and that's beer money or whatever for somebody, right? Like it's like, hey, do you want a couple extra $100 and then we don't have to go do it or whatever? Um, I've
And really,
definitely,
and really, in that time we scrap out, we could be covering floors or pre-filling or getting stuff ready to go to hit the ground running. So really, $200 is well worth it for the finisher.
yeah, I absolutely agree with that because it's like,
Maybe
um,
200 $100 is high, but yeah, I'm just throwing out a number. So
oh yeah, whatever it is, yeah. But I mean, even 50 or 300 or whatever, it's not wasted time, and you're not showing up to site going, oh God damn it, and like that starts the day sour, dude, when you walk into a destroyed site. Um, one of the things that I've picked up from you is putting that paper down. And I've been there for putting the paper down quite a few times, but the last time was there for taking the paper out. And I mean, that's like a 10-minute process,
yeah,
you know? What's that?
there's not much to clean up, and nobody around here does that. So
Yeah.
they're
Well,
like,
and
oh, it's great. I was like, yeah. I was like, no, you just ain't got to do nothing.
Well, in that big room that you were doing, like you just cut it up and then folded it all in like a burrito, rolled it up in 10 seconds, and it was out the door and the floors were clean. Like it for what it would have taken me to like even just scrape the basement floor, we were done cleaning the paper up. And it's
Oh,
just like that is worth its weight in gold doing that. Um, typically that would be something that you charge extra for, but in the time that you save, like I'd just do that for free now.
oh yeah, especially around here. Most people they tend to try to clean their own houses because like the next subcontractor or the previous one they'll charge for cleanup stuff like that, and it's like, it's just part of the bid. And
Hmm.
of course, you go back to me and Scott, we're like two as highest price guys around here, but that's part of it because we're taking care of the guy before us, we're taking care of the guy after, and then also the homeowners or the contractors, whoever. And it's like it just makes it so much easier on everybody else. But we put a little extra money in our pocket at the same time too. It's we're the only ones to do it, so it's almost kind of like a marketing tool in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's attractive to somebody that it's not a disaster when you leave and that you don't complain when you get there. Like it's just all part of the deal. Like you guys are seasoned guys, so you know what you're doing. And yeah, you're a little bit more expensive, but if somebody really wants a breakdown as to why, you've got some pretty serious answers for those questions. Like these are all the things that we do that you guys just don't do. Like you use Trimtex, not, whatever cheap fucking bead is down there.
I'll buy that shit from Home Depot.
Well, and I mean, when we've gone into Menards, like it looks brittle. Like it looks like it's been there for a while. It is shit bead.
First times where I've actually ran there real quick and grabbed a couple sticks because I was running short, and I would put a staple in it and it'd chip off, and I'm like,
Yeah.
nah, I'm just drive the extra half hour to go get my actual bead that I want that won't chip off.
Hmm.
So yeah, it does scare me because okay, let's just say somewhere down the road somebody's moving furniture and hits that bead. Okay, trim text it's going to bounce. You're going to have a mud chip. Well, this bead it's going to break off, and then well now you got to cut it out and fix it. So no, I'll take the extra drive and get the good stuff.
I mean, what's attractive to me about Trimtex is exactly that. Like everything else might as well be steel bead to me. Like, because if you hit it and I now have to replace it, tear the whole bloody thing out and try and, that is a headache that I'm not willing to deal with. So when you've got the Trimtex, it just pops out the mud. How easy is it to go hit it with 20 and then do a quick coat on it? Like you're in and out in 10 minutes.
And then on top of that too, when you sit there and tell a homeowner that they're going to pay this much money to fix that, they're like, "Oh my god!" So
Yeah.
you get that. I mean, there's a lot of times where I mean, maybe I should charge, but there's a lot of times where I go in there and fix a little mishap on a bead where throw a little hot mud on it, a little bit of white mud, come back the next morning, my way through to the next job and sand it off. I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. I'm like, what, really? I was like, yeah, I spent like 15 minutes here on my way to the next job. It's like, it's not a big deal. A lot of people say, "Oh, you should be charging for that." Should I?
And what do you really charge for it? Like, if you were to be honest about it, like you said, 15 minutes and like a little bit of this and a little bit of that, what are you going to fight with someone for 50 bucks? Like,
And like my biggest thing is like, oh, I'll just leave 15 minutes earlier for work today. I mean, it's either I'm going to sit there and watch TV in the morning, or have an extra cup of coffee. It's not going to kill me if I miss an extra cup of coffee, or 10 minutes of a show that I want to pick up later on tonight. So it's just, yeah, it just it's back to that reputation thing. It's just like you make everybody happy, you make them feel better about it, and then you get more work in the end. So I mean, they always, most people, especially around here, they want to work with somebody that they can trust and talk to, and feel easy about coming into their home versus somebody that's like, oh, okay, I need $50 for this, or I need $50 for that, or $200 for that. Just go in there and do it and just get out. And then next thing you know, it's like three of their friends are going to call you up for a new house.
well, and that kind of goes back to that whole thing because like nobody remembers the good stuff. It's just the way that it goes. But everybody kind of remembers the bad stuff. So I mean, when somebody says the guy comes in and nickels and dime me about everything, even his touch-ups. Well, the fact of the matter is you fucked it up, not you, but the homeowner. Like this is something that you've damaged that I'm going to come back and fix. And it's well within my right to charge you for that because you wouldn't do anything for free at your work either. But when you just come do it for free, that conversation turns into, yeah, and have him come do it. You smash your walls up, he comes, does that for free too. This guy's awesome, and hopefully that doesn't take off where people just start fucking smashing shit. But
Fine line, yeah. They hole in the wall because they're moving furniture around. So it's like, I might have to charge for that. But it's like little dings and nicks, whatever. It's like that's fine.
yeah, what are you gonna do, right? Um, what's the new custom color for? I saw it's like a light green blue.
Uh, Actually, that house you and I went to, we talked to that older lady about who had done that accent wall in her
Oh
bathroom.
yeah.
Was doing it in her or accent wall in her master bedroom, and then her bathroom. So
Right.
that's shows. And actually, I'm looking at it right now. I seen the pictures that Nick sent me, and then I'm looking at the color now, and it's like, man, the pictures doesn't know no justice. I mean, it's a beautiful color. I cannot wait to put it on. I'm actually
Well,
thinking about doing it tomorrow instead of Monday.
that yeah, it was kind of cute the way that she did that. Like we walk into this beautiful house, it's finished. I think actually I was there the first time I came down. They were I talked to the carpenter about doing those special edges on uh stairs or whatever. And being able to walk into that house now that it's done with the exposed beams and everything was just beautiful. And she's got like a pillow on her bed and she's like, that's the color I like. And then you just send it to Nick and he figures it out. Like it's a great process.
Oh, and yeah, I actually got Nick to name it after her, which he's tickled pink about that.
Well, I mean, I kind of like that he does that,
Oh yeah.
where it's like the white behind me is Hesser Port. It's I love the fact that your color is in the podcast background. You know what I mean? It's it is kind of neat. And I mean, what are you going to name the custom colors anyways? You got to figure it out. So why not?
Yeah, works out great. But the last one was Chatosaurus. That was as soon as he sent me that, I was like, "Oh, come on, man!" That was great. But
That is your name in my phone now because it's just so perfect, dude.
homeowners love that. They see it. It's like, "Oh, that's great." But no,
um that's the home theater color in Surrey.
yeah, Nick was saying something about that. He said he wasn't for sure now, but
Well, they gave him one and he tried to match it, and I think they were confused as to like which color on that stick. So the one that he made was the swamp monster, and it was quite a bit lighter. And they're talking about darkening it up, and then he has this like thought where he's like, the Chatosaurus is exactly what they want, and it's already made. So he just like goes in and makes a few more color packs of it. So I think it's brilliant. Have you talked about color for that big one yet?
Do what?
Have you talked about color for the next big project?
I'm gonna go meet with them tomorrow morning. The homeowner and the contractor. Ironically, her nephew was the one I done the fresco house for.
Oh,
No samples needed. She just went over there and she's like, "Nope, I'm just gonna pick a color and you're just gonna do it." And I was like, "All right." But right now she's leaning toward Westbrook tan on the walls, patterns of snow on the ceilings, and then she's wanting a couple darker tan accent walls. But I'm gonna take her color chart tomorrow, and then she's gonna pick out some other colors, and then hopefully next week sometime we'll get everything hammered out, and then by the time I get back from Surrey, I'm gonna be hitting that one hard.
yeah, rock and roll, right? That with the heavy textures on that wall, it's like a swirl or something, or
The ceiling's got a old school sand swirl texture on it, so we're probably just gonna do one heavy coat on that and just scrape it, and then do fresco.
yeah,
And then it's got like a weird sponge type. I don't know, it's like a sponge stomp slash knockdown. It's heavy and nasty, so it's probably gonna take a good couple coats on that. But as long as we get it semi smooth, and like I told them, it's like I went over cinder block and stuff like that with just top mud and just went right over top of it. But that's we'll be all right. Then yeah, Monday afternoon, I got to go talk to another guy. We're gonna do probably a similar size project. We're looking at about another 20 to 30 bottles there too. Because
nice.
they first they want to do just the ceilings, and then I talked to him over the weekend, and when Cam was here, and we started talking about it, and he's like, "Well, the walls are all kind of crappy too." And he's like, "It's got a weird texture on it." And I told him, I was like, "I can't match it. It was done back in the '70s, and I was like, I have no clue how they done it, or even the like consistency of the mud, or if they even done it with actual mud or plaster." So it's like I can't recreate it unless I know exactly how they done it, or
Right.
even which they're kind of sold on the whole fresco thing too. They're just wanting to see it done more and more. And they're like, yeah, well, let's just go ahead and do it. So now only thing I gotta do is make a sample so they can, like a bigger sample so they can see what it's going to look like on a larger scale. But I think I'm pretty much sold on that one too. And
Yeah,
then we still got Nora over there in Indiana. She's been working on a few other houses. She keeps putting it off. But I think she's getting close to starting in on that house. So there's going to be another one.
and I mean that's a beautiful house for it. You could reach the ceilings from the ground, like it's
Yeah, that's nice.
hmm hopefully no bullet holes in this one.
Right.
I couldn't believe that, man. We're doing that house and then we're looking around and it's like, oh, I think that window's broken. I think that's a bullet hole.
Oh yeah, it was. Don't worry about it. We're
Yeah.
like, well,
Yeah, I'm happy you told me on the last day so I didn't worry about it.
she's not. Oh my gosh, she's hilarious.
And makes a hell of a pizza.
Oh yeah. I didn't care we got white mud all over her black carpet in the restaurant. At least,
Man,
we made a mess.
I thought she was gonna be pissed about that. But it's it's what it is. Um yeah, they had a bunch of stuff at that restaurant. I ended up getting a meatball too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So took Cam to her brother's restaurant here in town last night.
nice. And it's the same kind of menu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all based off their mom and dad's original restaurant, and they all just kind of branched off, but they pretty much have the same menu. So,
And it's good. It's real good. I bet you Cam was in heaven eating pizza.
what Cam? He had chicken Alfredo last night.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I mean, like a real Italian restaurant down there, like it's almost like you don't expect it. Um, that Mexican restaurant, the barbecue, there's a lot of things that it's like, oh yeah, that'll make sense here. But like a real nice Italian place, I was super happy about it.
Oh yeah, the Cucinellas. Their parents were originally from Sicily, so
Hmm.
it's not just your knockoff Italian restaurant. It's old school recipes from Sicily. It's not just made up stuff. It's the real deal.
Well, and you can tell 100%.
It's
That's good, man. That's real good. I'm super stoked for Surrey now that it's like we are rounding the corner. We're getting close. Everything's ready this time. Like,
right.
you know what I mean? It's this week is the last week of stress of like, talking to the border and then talking to Hish. Like I did that back and forth like 3 times today. And it's like every couple of days, it's the same kind of thing. And you just got to check in and make sure everything's going as smooth as it can. Um, Man, those insulation guys, they killed us on that. It, you know,
Yeah. I was trying to be as polite as possible. I was talking to the foreman. And I was like, "What can I do to help?" And I was like, "I'm not trying to like step on your toes." It's like, "What can I do to help? You know, push things along." He politely basically told me to get the hell out of his way.
yeah.
So I was like,
He's like, fuck you. Like,
basically,
oh, okay.
it's not as easy as it looks. And I was like, "You're putting batted insulation." And he's like, "Well, we got to cover the plastic too." And I was like, "Okay, I get that too." I was like, "I finished drywall. I know it's a complicated process, right?" I
Man,
was like, all right, you know, whatever. But I guess, yeah, that was what it was. I mean, it still took me another week and a half after the fact, even though they said it's going to be like another 2 days. But yeah, I not trying to rag on that guy, but it's still just hilarious that he was sitting there talking to the three of us there that one day, and he's like, "Oh, I want to work a half day and then I want to go golf." And we're like, "What?"
like,
And he was here.
yeah. And then he went golfing. Like, I mean, there's a part of me there that sits there going, like, what are you talking about? You're 3 weeks late on a project and you're going to take the day to go golfing?
And then later on, yeah, we were driving down the road and it's like, "Oh, well, there's an insulating contractor. He's sitting along the road drinking beer with his buddies." We're like, "What?" I was just like, nah. So yeah, it was insane. But
I, I kind of feel like out here you can find people like that when you are taking the lowest bid, where it's like this guy's the lowest bid because when you complain to him, he now has the excuse that it was like you chose me. I think out there, it's everybody. Like unless you're paying top dollar, you're gonna get shit work or it's gonna kill your timeline. Like, can you imagine if this wasn't their personal house? Like in a month, you should be able to insulate board and tape and it takes a month to insulate. That's insane.
I know one man shows around here that does houses like that by himself for like 3 days. I'm just like, well, why is it taking 3 weeks or four? I think it took 4 weeks total. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, just but, yeah.
it is what it is. And I mean, the other part of that is, are you going to fight and argue and piss and moan the whole time, or are you just going to be like, yeah, whatever, man, just get it done whenever you can get it done? Like as soon as somebody starts on your site, that you're not going to go find someone else. Like, you're going to have some idiot sue you, or they're going to put a lien on the house, or like there's a million things that the contractors can do, like the subs. Um, and I mean, it's dangerous. And when you're one of these people that suck or take advantage, you know exactly how to do it. And that's a scary situation to be in. Getting good with that cough button.
There you go. Hit it.
For anybody watching on YouTube, behind Chad is all Venetian plaster samples. Um, I mean, if you're ever down there spending time with him, it's like it's incredible the stuff that you can do with different mediums and you're not married to any of them. It's more like, can you do this? And someone shows you a picture and you're like, I could figure it out. And you've kind of got a broad understanding of everything, right?
I do that a lot. I'll figure it out somehow. Try not to do that anymore though.
I mean, it's got to be a headache. And it's like,
It's still
um,
fun.
it's what?
Still fun.
Oh, totally. Um,
Yeah, it's fun just doing it. Doesn't always work out, which obviously we seen that one time. So
well, and I mean, I think what the guy was looking for was Venetian. You know what I mean? Like a real gritty Venetian in that color, but it's like that's 10, 20 times what he never would have been able to have it. So attempting it with the fresco, and I mean, it looked good. To bring everybody up to speed, this is like a bedroom overlooking a beautiful, like what, like a river, and
yeah,
it is like floor to ceiling windows on three of the walls. It's real hard to work in that kind of situation. Yeah, dude. Um,
we got close, but just not close enough.
yeah, and I mean, on camera, it looked great.
Oh yeah,
I got a bunch of content, and now I don't think we. Oh yeah, I did. I did make a reel about it, but um, yeah, man. We've had conversations of like, are you looking to grow or what are you looking to do? And I mean, like, I think you really found right where you need to be. I'm not sure growing would do you any good.
man, I could, but it's just it's kind of like I was telling Cam the other day too. It's like I'm not built for that kind of. I mean, not that I couldn't do it. It's just me personally, like what I want out of life and what I want to do for the next 20 years of my life is not being married to a business or being tied to it, 7 days a week or even 5 days a week. It's just like I'm getting to a point to where I got younger people coming in that's starting their business. So I'm pulling them in, kind of like Scott pulled me in. And it's like, I think I've taped 4 houses this year, but we finished 15.
Right.
I got guys taping houses for me, and then I got my guys, somewhat finishing them. And I come in and I do a lot of hand finishing, or I take off and I go do fresco, or like tomorrow I'm going to work half a day and just take off while the guys finish up the other stuff. Where normally I would be there 100% of the time. Where now it's like I'm taking time off. I'm going to go off and do like little side jobs that I want to do or have fun doing. Um, yeah. So if I grew more, then I would have more time and energy and expenses into training people or doing more estimates or spending more time doing paperwork. It's just like I'm at the point to where I want to just like this is good. Let's just perfect this process and maximize profits and lower overheads. Maybe put my efforts into the financial side versus the physical side of it. You know,
Hmm.
so much. I mean, I'm 43 now. I'm not old, but I'm not young. So
Yeah,
I got to
you're
start. I start planning for the next 10 years. It's like, what do I want to do? Do I want to keep killing myself, or do I want to enjoy life? So it's like, I would say I want to enjoy life. So yeah,
well,
not that I'm in a position to start pulling myself away from the job, but I'm on that cusp where I can start doing it. So I was like, I need to keep working on that aspect where enjoy the rest of my life versus working it away, which is I've done for the last 20 years of just work, 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 work.
yeah. Well, and you kind of hit it on the head there where it was like you're bringing guys in and mentoring them like you got brought in and mentored. And if it's not for people like you and people like Scott doing that, the craftsmanship is going to plummet, man. Because if somebody who's a half-ass finisher teaches you, you think half-ass is the best because this person that you look up to, that's how they've done it. They don't have that exposure to somebody that is kind of the best, you know. It's a real difficult place to be in, and I know it's a headache, and I know all kinds of stuff about it, but I mean, you know, it's guys like you doing what you're doing that's going to keep everything kind of alive, if you will, or everything's going to plummet into the ground. It's just, you know, down here you just get shit work or whatever.
Right. And it's kind of humbling too that I can sit there and do the same thing that somebody done for me, and I can see where you know, like Mike, you met Mike. Uh, he's really I don't know how to phrase it, but I guess he's really enjoying the fact and embracing like the little tidbits of knowledge. I'm not saying that learning for me is going to save his business or make his business or anything like that, but just getting different ideas and different perspectives and seeing how it's being done elsewhere. I mean, like when I first started out, I thought I was doing pretty good, and then I was going around other sites with other finishers, and I was like, okay, I'm not that good.
Yeah.
And even I was like, I know I'm pretty good at what I do, and I know there's always room for improvement. I don't care who you are, but I thought I was doing pretty good. And then, well, like I said, working with Gilbert's last week, it's like I seen some of their work, and it's just like not knocking on anybody else I've ever worked with, but it's like I was by far amazed by
Hmm.
how clean it was, and it's like there was one point I was like filling some of the walls, and I was like, "Have we sanded this yet?" And they're like, "No, we haven't sanded it yet." And I'm like, "Oh crap, okay." It's like I'll leave it alone. Yeah, I just there's always somebody better. There's always something to learn. I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at.
And that's what
So
being humble is like understanding that like these people that go around and say they're the best, it's like, you're not. They're, and it's not that you aren't, and that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is someone on the planet somewhere is doing better. And you need to understand that, and you need to get that it's a process. Every day is learning. And like this last 2 years of working with like a dozen real good finishers, like you pick up things. And there are some things that some of them do that I'm just not going to do. But there's always something that you walk away from where you're just like, oh yeah, like
and
the
sometimes it's what not to do.
totally,
That's
absolutely.
saying like a lot of people in this is what not to do. I mean, they're quick to judge about it, but they're not like looking at it. It's like, okay, it's like, why are they doing it that way? And how's it impacting the job? Is it correlating to something I may be doing too? Which I mean, there's been a few times where it's like I do something that works for me, but it doesn't work for somebody else.
Hmm.
And something similar that they're doing that I would never do that because maybe it is wrong. Maybe it's not wrong for them. It was like, you correlated that to what you're doing. I was like, okay, maybe I should tweak this a little bit and not fall back into like what I always call a rabbit hole. Is like you get a little bit complacent and you just fall back into bad habits, or it's like, oh, we can get by with it here, and it's like, no, you just can't do that. It's
Hmm.
just keep progressing and keep learning. I mean, that's like one of the things that we talked about a lot last week, especially with Gilbert's, was never stop learning, keep an open
Hmm.
mind. Don't jump to discredit people because you don't agree with how they're doing things. Like maybe there's a little tidbit in their whole process that you could take away that would improve your. And I think the three of us actually done that where we took a lot of differences and combined them with like, hey, we can do this, this, and this, or this, is and this, or not do that. I mean, we went both ways with it, and I think we came up with a greater understanding of different techniques, and maybe even a better understanding how to improve.
I mean,
So
the first time that I worked with Nate, I after the project and like everything was good and everything was great, we went and did a project for him. And same thing. And like we were at lunch one day, and I was just like, I need you to understand that when I was watching you doing what you were doing, in the back of my mind, I'm like, this is gonna be a real problem. Like I don't think this is a smart thing to do at all. But if you just keep your mouth shut and you watch, right? And then you see like it, because judging one stage of the process is foolish. You need to watch the process and judge the finish of it all. And we had that conversation of like you do things very differently than the way I do things, but it's mint. Like the finished product is good. The soup's good. And it was a lot of the people prior to Nate that I worked with, everything was real close to the way that I did things. And he is like really with a knife in his hand, man, he is a gangster. Like, well, same with you with those offset knives. The way you run your butt joints, where you run the box over it and then you come back through and you knife it flat. The fact that you can tie in from a wet band into a butt without leaving any marks on it, like that takes real talent. But if I saw you from 100 feet doing that, I'd be like, the fuck is this guy doing?
that's just something I made. probably 7 years ago. It took me a good couple of years to really get good at it. And then there's still days where I struggle with it, but yeah, for the most part, it works out. But at the same time, too, it's like even going from that and then watching the girls last week with the trials, it's just like it's almost flawless every time with them. Where me, it's like I might start saying, "I was like, okay, I need to rerun this one,"
Mhm.
and I might rerun a couple in the house, but it's like they're not rerunning anything. So it's like, okay, well, they're honest, and I just need to figure out how they're doing it.
Yeah, and I
Because
feel
they're doing it by hand, both coats.
yes.
That to me, that's what's amazing.
Well, and that's kind of what I was going to say was like when you're troweling and you have like a real understanding of the mechanics of that, you are filling it and you are smoothing it. And like, when you're running a box, you've always got a lift, and you've always got a starting point, and like you've always got those things that you got to kind of have to keep your eye on during the process. But if you're comfortable with the trowel and you're running a trowel, you're doing all those things as you go. So there is no backing up to, double check, and there is no like touching it up because you've done it the whole time. So I mean, those like little 2 minute spurts in a day, when you add them all up, it's probably hours of time that they're not going back, right? And it's impressive. I really can't wait um to see it firsthand. And I mean, same with Danny Moody. Like today is another one of these fucking days with Danny where he's just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do 3 days worth of work in one day today, by the way. And then at like 1:55, he's done all of this work and he's like, yeah, I didn't really hit 1 o'clock like I thought. So I sent him back. It sounds like an absolute failure. Like, like what are you talking about? You coated out a whole house after installing all the beads and coating them, and by 1 o'clock or 1:55. Let's not give him any more kudos than he needs.
Right.
At the end of the day, Danny, you didn't get it done by 1 o'clock, buddy. I'm going to judge you for that.
Work on
Um,
things by the end of the week.
well, honestly, it sounds like the girls reached out to him and they were like, sounds like you're just going to tape the whole house out. That'd be great. And I just sent back, I was like, well, that's real nice of them. Like that they just saved us all a whole day of work.
I'm glad. See you tomorrow, Danny.
Yeah, right. Um, yeah, I think that's going to be really cool if we end up doing it the way that you and I were talking about, where like everybody takes a room upstairs and we all get to see everyone else's process. I would really like that, man. Um, because your process is different from mine. That's different from Cam's. That's different from Teek's. That's different from Danny's. That's different from the girls. So, like, why would we not do that so everybody can see? Um, and then I think on the downstairs, obviously, Aaron's going to want us to just use the tools and everybody get used to using the tools. But, nobody should be outside of their comfort zone, if you know what I mean, at least for a section of it.
Yeah, especially with that experience with the girls last week. They were kind of anxious about using more tools with more of their process, and after I seen what they do, it's like it's not. They weren't much slower than what I was doing with boxes, and to be honest with you, I think the quality was more there with what they were doing
Mm-hmm.
than what I was. So I was like, it's like if you're going to trade like a few minutes of time for better quality, then let's go that route. Let's go with the quality.
Totally.
I mean, yeah, a few minutes on each job is not going to buy you a house at the end of the year. So,
No, and
we can talk about putting paper down, or we can talk about, two coats versus three coats, or, like I know guys that do two coats and their beads and versus three coats, or just like even letting the house sit for a day on their bed coat and then come back later. I mean, you can sit there and add all those numbers up. It's like, oh, at the end of the year, you could add in three more houses or four more houses. But it's like, do you push your quality on it?
that's right.
And if you start losing your quality, you start losing reputation. When you start losing reputation, you start losing business.
I mean, there are guys out here that do probably 50 houses a year, townhouses or whatever they are, but it is a slap and go, and you're being paid for it, and that's what's expected of you. But I mean, it's not the same, man. It's just nowhere close to the same.
I mean, I'm not going to say I'm production drywall, but at the same time, it's like pretty close. Is I mean, I got two guys, and both of them are, not trying to knock them, but they're hourly people, so they're going to be B grade work.
Hmm.
So, with two guys, I'm doing average 35 hours a year, which is a lot. So it's at one point I got to be kind of production, but at the same time too, I'm still picky as you can be. I mean, I'm particular. I mean, I was kind of I tried to pick the girls apart, which I found a few spots, but it's like there's no big deal. It's like that stuff that you find with anybody.
Right.
You know, I mean, I've done the same thing to myself too. I went back and looked at some of my stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, I missed this. I mean, it's everybody's going to miss something, but at the same time too, it's like you got to keep that quality because I mean, you can be as fast as you can be. That's great, but at the end of the year, it's like who's going to hire you if you're just doing shit work?
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with people where they grab a sanding pole and he's, look how fast I can sand out this room. But it's like, oh yeah, but you over sanded here. You didn't sand enough here. Like when you're running around, um, and the quality is not there, then you're not fast.
Right.
You're much slower because you've got to fucking do it again, or you've got to refill, or you've got to come back and sand again, or like when you're pre-sanding between coats, all you're doing is knocking all that shit off the wall, like anything that's going to drag, and that's all you're doing. But if you're taking too much off, it affects that next coat. And if it's not enough, and you've pre-sanded, and now you're still dragging shit all over the place, you might as well not have done it. Um, like I
I mean,
mean,
it's kind of like a conversation we had last week too about even just the bed coat.
mhm,
Try to make it look as good and slick as possible. That way, all you got to do when you sand between coats is basically just drag that pole sander or whatever you sand and just drag it along the wall and just knock the stuff off and keep going. I
mhm.
mean, yeah, I know sometimes it's framing and boarding, you get some edges because stuff's a little bit wonky. That happens, especially on ceilings. But for the most part, to me, let's just say you get a 200 sheet house, so that's almost 10,000 board feet. If you're spending more than an hour and a half sanding between coats, you're doing a shitty job. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Just spade's a spade. I mean, if you can't just walk through and just drag that stuff along, just knock the edges off and get going, you need to learn how to run the tools or be a better hand finisher or whatever you're doing.
Or get better
Yeah,
at sanding between coats. I think there's a lot of people
I'm
that,
not cynical. I'm just saying. It's like I've seen houses where I went in and worked for other people where I spent half a day just sanding between coats because, oh my God, there's so much junk on the wall.
yeah, man, that time that I came down and do that house with Nora and it wasn't ready, and then we went and finished up a couple of those houses. It was just like, holy shit, the stuff that's left in between coats, right? But you can see like the last house that we did together, it's like there is some stuff left from the previous coat, but if you understand what you're doing with your pre-sand, it's not a big deal, right? Like it's just the first coat. Like I'll be honest, I do a 3 coat process. I run an 8-inch box first, and I mean I'm running with it. And I don't do fucking nothing with it. I don't come back and double back. I don't do any of that kind of shit. I fill it with the 8. It'll shrink up a little bit, and then I come back with the 10 or the 12, and then the 12 or the 14 on the third. So that first coat doesn't fucking matter. So you're getting it in, you're getting it bedded. It's almost like a cheat doing the 3 coat system. Like, yes, does it take an extra day? For sure it does. But that first day, that first coat is quick, quick, quick. And that last coat, it kind of bridges the gap of like not having to sand so much. So, it does kind of take some talent to produce a 2 coat house that is acceptable. Um, Definitely. And I mean, trowels, I totally understand. Like, I feel like if you did 3 coats with a trowel, you're just kind of taking it on and putting it off, probably, right? Because at the end of it, you've got a 12-inch, you're essentially running a 12-inch 3 times or 2 times or whatever. So it's full and it's flat.
Yeah, so when I do a two coat, it's like my biggest thing is I try not to double back.
Hmm.
That's where I use no pock a little bit, and then it's like I'm not gonna say I got it down to a science on mixing mud, but like the mud consistency is extremely important too. But I also use the all-assist boxes where I can run thicker mud, where you
Hmm.
get less pocking and then less drying time, less shrinkage. So when I do come back to that second coat, as long as everything's good on the first coat, which for the most part, not took my over when I do it,
Hmm.
it's you I can do one pass. I mean, most of the time. When it comes back to that second coat, I mean, as long as there's not too much dust on the wall, you're not sanding a bunch of crap off. There's not too many pocks. I mean, it's pretty mid. And I've seen the Gilbert say they double back on their boxing on the first coat, which they still went through like 210 sheets that one day, like 6 hours, spotting screws, everything. So I was like,
Mm.
pretty cool. And came back the next day, and I was like, basically all I do was skim it. And I was like, oh. I was like, that was cool. I mean, I can do it with boxes, but I couldn't do it by hand. There ain't no way.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
definitely talent. Just kind of what we're saying is like it's what you get used to, the system you're on, and it's like you got to perfect it, but not everybody can do it.
Hmm. And it's experience, right? Like it's, and I don't mean experience in the trade. I mean experience with the technique, where when you, I'll even say with me running a two coat system, I feel like it's off because it is from what I'm used to. I mean, if you came out here and did a three coat system, it'd feel the same way, where it's like I don't get what I'm looking for out of all these coats because I only do two.
I
Um,
mean, I think it'd be easier for me to go back to a three coat versus like you going from a three coat to a two coat.
100%.
Because like a two coat, yeah, you would definitely have to be more precise on that first coat because
Mhm.
that's basically your second coat. So you got to be clean. And I think that's where I think that's where a lot of me and my guys and some of the people I bring in is like it's harder on them to get that clean first coat, which everybody's taught on your first coat. Oh, you don't have to worry about it. You know, you'll fix it tomorrow or whatever. It's like, no, we're going to fix it today. And
Yeah.
there's, I mean, I put more emphasis on that first coat than I do the finish coat because I know if that first coat's good, the finish coat's just going to be easy.
Yes. And I mean, that's the emphasis I put on my second, where that second coat is the most important. And that third coat is with a 14 on like a four. And you're just like the box will run you forever. It doesn't just run out and run out and run out because you're just skimming. Like you're just filling in scratches, you're filling in whatever it is on that third one, as opposed to two very precise coats. And I mean, a lot of people talk shit about two coat systems, and I get it because the people doing it don't know what they're doing. As opposed to somebody like you that you've, you know, created this two coat system that works. Like running a 10 and then running a 14 or running a 12 and then running a 14. I'm sure people think that you're crazy until they see it.
Yeah, I've had some conversations with people about doing a 12 and 14 on two code, and it's like, oh, there ain't no way. You have no idea what you're doing. I was like, nah, you got to know what your tools are capable of doing and know how to manipulate them and how to use them. It's not so much that they don't know how to use them. It's just you can use them for other things besides what they're designed to actually do.
Well, and those assisted boxes makes a big difference. Like you put hardly no water in your mud.
Yeah, just no box.
Yeah, like any lubrication that you get is literally a cup of no pock. And I mean it comes out, man, especially with the assisted boxes where you're not just pushing like crazy all day. Um Yeah, it's interesting, man. That was the first thing Steve said to me when he came onto my site, where he was just like, "Do you know how much water you put in your mud?" And I was like, "Yeah, man. I watch myself do it every day." And he's like, "And you know that that's bad, right?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" But it's shrinkage. It's all those types of things where like you really do need to figure it out. Like I used to run my angles twice um, because I thought that they weren't perfect. So I would run them on the tape coat. I'd do a 3 inch, and then I'd come back with a 3.5 because I needed it. Um, but then you take a look at actually your process with corners is really interesting. Um, so you tape it out, you flush it, and then when you come back with the throttle box.
Yeah, so just yeah, tape the angles, roll it, and then yeah, we call it glazing, but yeah, glazing with the garment box. And then next coat is just a thinner coat with a bigger head on the throttle box again, and it's done.
Yeah. I think well, it was that house that we all did together where I came in and I was like, "Oh, your angles are done." You're like, "No, that's just first coat." And then I was like, "It's not. There's no fucking way that this is your first coat." And then when I saw you do the garage where I was like, "Oh, instead of wiping it with a pole, you put the throttle box on the end of it and it just fills in all those little crevices where maybe it wouldn't have had enough mud or whatever." And it's real smart.
Yeah, as I've had some other people come in and tape houses and they run flushers through, and I was like, oh shit, now I got to run two more coats on the angles. I mean, your flushers do a good job if you're essentially doing a three coat system, but where I'm not, it's like I got to have that first coat with an angle head and be done with it, and then 2 days later I'll come back and do the finish coat with the angle head again. But and in my I got maybe not my defense, but maybe how my angles look a little bit different than most people's is I'm doing it with fiber fuse versus paper tape.
Mhm.
I mean, there's times where when I used to use paper tape on angles, I would have to do three coats, the taping coat, second coat, and then it's like, okay, it's not looking good enough, so let's do one more. But with fiber fuse, I mean, there's times where I hate to say it, that I've cut corners in like little closet or something. It's like, oh, I forgot to run that. It's like just over saying it'll be fine because it'll blend in.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not a good practice, but yeah, I mean, the fiber fuse, I mean, there's so many advantages to it, even though it's a little more expensive, and there is a hard learning curve to it, especially with angles. But
Yeah.
once you, it's gold. Oh my god, it's gold.
Well, and I mean, when you say it's a little more expensive, sure, the product is, but is it in the long run? Probably not,
Oh no,
right?
I mean, it's been almost 7 years since I fixed the blister.
Well, yeah. And I had a
And you can't,
conversation.
and you can't oversand angles because I mean, it's just there's nothing there to oversand. Uh, yeah, butt joints. I don't know how many times over the years with paper butt joints, it just you sand a little too much or you just don't get enough mud on it with fiber fuse. I mean, it's just there's almost nothing there. It's flat. It's just reinforcement. That's all it is. It's kind of like rebar and concrete. And a
100%.
lot of people say you can't do butt joints with it, you can't do angles with it, but I've been doing it for 7 years now, and I mean, I'm doing huge luxury homes. I'm doing regular homes. I've done commercial with it, no problems. Well, let's just say you do have some settling, the house moves, your inside corners crack a little bit. Paper tape that pulls that tape out, you got to cut it out, you got to fix it, fiber fuse it. You get a hairline crack down the middle, just a little tube of caulking. There you go.
Yeah. Well, and I
Well,
mean, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just saying, yeah, you're just in and out 5 minutes with a tube of caulking versus trying to retape it and whatnot. Especially if you got textured walls. So.
Man, so if you said that to me like a year ago, I would have been like, no, that's crazy. But we did that huge, Nate and I did that huge house. It was like 16,000 feet and all that shadow bead and all that stuff. And we had 600 feet of no code in that house. And in one of the rooms, the no codes, like there, the top four that came down to another four that came down to another four. Like it was a big deal. And I spent an entire day in there just knifing and sanding, and like they were crisp. Like I wanted to do the best job that I could in there. And then when I came back to do touch-ups, the amount of fucking paint that was in all those corners, I might as well have just not done them.
Yeah.
Like if you got a painter that goes in there and just sprays the shit out of everything, like all of that real intricate work that you're going to try and do is gone anyway. So if like you said, if you're going to run a little bit of caulking in there and then it gets painted again, those corners aren't going to be crisp sometimes. If you've got it, and it depends. It depends on how it's done and who's doing it, but it's always heartbreaking when I see the paint after the paint where you're like, where did all my really crisp angles go?
Right.
And what the fuck am I spending so much time on them for?
That's what I love about my job. It's they usually got one of three painters that follow behind me, and all three of them are top notch. So it's like I can pretty much trust the process, and then same time too, it's we help each other out. So
Well, I mean, out here, there's 100 different of everything. Like
oh yeah.
there's 100 different borders and 100 different finishers and 100 different painters. So it's like you don't ever get that routine and process. Like one of a few painters that are going to come and do it. That's just the way that it is down there, and you can really dial your shit in, and if they can trust you to do a good job, and you can trust them to do a good job, like that's a hell of a team.
Yeah, I think we had this conversation when you were here a couple of weeks ago. It's like as good as I'm doing here, and as I guess popular and credible as I am, if I went to somewhere like Toronto, I'd probably just be another fly on the wall. So
Hmm.
it's me and another guy is kind of cornered the market and kind of created the market ourselves, I guess you would say, and then we're bringing other people into it. Where maybe even if Scott went somewhere else, he may be another small fry versus top dog or something. But like around here, obviously, he can pretty much do whatever he wants and act however he wants and be a piece of shit if he really wanted
Yeah.
to. But yeah, if he went somewhere else where there's actual competition, and that's the thing is like as tried to tell Allison and Kayla that last week, is like they never really said it, but I kind of got the feeling they thought I was like so far above them as far as reputation, equality, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I was like, no, I'm just another finisher. It was like I just
Yeah.
don't have any competition. And where they're coming from, they got a lot of competition and they're getting paid way less than what I am. And that's what floored me. I was like, oh my God. I was like, you guys are worth so much more. It's like, you need to push for it. But it's like at the same time, too, I can't tell them how to do it. Like, but yeah, I guess my point was, here we created a market. So I am the market. Or if I
Hmm.
went somewhere else, I'd just be another blip on the map. So,
Well, and I mean, and good luck cornering a market in a place where there's 1,000 finishers. Like
can't do it.
it would be impossible. Like you would have to be doing something that was so earth shattering that it really made you the guy.
It's a business where you get like 40 finishers that were all just like dialed in. And that's never happened.
No. And I mean, when you're talking about competition out there, like, price maybe, but quality, not a fucking chance. Like it's just not there.
No, like even Scott knows, like if we went in to bid a house together, he's like, "You're finishing it. I'm hanging and painting."
Hmm.
He's, I just can't finish that way. He's like, "I'm not going to pay him that way either," because he wants to be great finishing, and his son paints, and then his son's a finisher too. So they'll go in there and they'll do all the touch ups and whatnot, and just let the finishers go. Where me, I come in, I do it. They walk in, they paint, and they're like, "Hey, easy day."
Yeah, and I mean, it all comes down to that stuff. That's why I liked framing, boarding, and taping because my framing is bang on, and then my board is bang on, and then taping's a joke where, you don't have all this shouldering happening on your butt joints and you don't have, you know, 85-degree angles. You have 90-degree angles. Like it just makes things easier. And then if you go a step further and I do all the trim work, it's the same thing. If everything is correct, like doing the trim work is money because you're just cutting it on a 45, run, run, run. Like you're not caulking everything and doing all this bullshit that, guys come in to do. If you've got your shit dialed in, every step of the process is good, but it's just the way that it is.
Oh, yeah.
You ever think about just building full houses with Scott? Like get a framing crew, get a concrete crew?
We've talked about it.
I bet.
The thing is, both of us can frame, both of us can do just about everything in the house except for electrical and plumbing. Then we know enough about both of those that do it. Just we don't want to.
Mm-mm.
But talked several times about it, but it's for him to be more of a headache, and for me to be more of an undertaking.
Yeah.
So maybe 10 years from now, later in both our lives, where it's like, okay, yeah, let's just go ahead and do that.
Well, the
It's
old,
where we can do it, kind of at our own pace, and then I mean, it's not so much like take it slow. It's just we don't have to worry so much because at that point, both of our business will be ran hopefully by other people, and we can just kind of oversee it. And then, okay, yeah, we're going to go over here and frame this house up today, and then we're going to roof it tomorrow or whatever. I mean, but like right now, we got too much going on to really try to do something like that. I mean, it's a nice thought, but we've talked about it.
And I mean, that goes back to that growth thing, man. For you to be doing that, you'd have to hire crews, and then you are one more step removed from the quality at the end of the day. And it's like, and you know that that's going to be frustrating. Like,
As both of us are extremely picky, so
yeah, yeah, man, he's got big projects, dude. That hotel, and then like he singularly is doing that. That's nuts.
but he was like, "Oh yeah, it's just another job." He's like, "I got a few more going on over here." And I was like, "You're talking about 6,000 sheets." He's like, "Yeah, it's no big deal."
Yeah.
Okay. I might do that by June.
Yeah. I
Actually, here we are, almost hitting May, and I've actually kept track this year. Because I was just curious. I started keeping track this year. I'm at 3,000 sheets by almost May. So
quarterly. It's not bad.
we're taking another 150, so I might be at 3,200 by May. So I was like, okay, he's doing like 6,000 on one job.
Yeah, exactly.
He's done
Um, Anytime I talk about Scott, I mean, if anybody had the right to be a dickhead, it's him. Do you know what I mean? Like he's got a lot of bananas. You know what I mean? He's not playing around. And then when you meet the guy, he's just so humble. I can see why you guys get along.
just another.
Um, Yeah, and I think that's his thing is now when we talked to him that first time, you kind of got the story where it was just like, you're never going to build your fucking house, and he's like, fuck you, watch this. Oh, you're never going to build a big drywall company. Well,
And
fuck
then he
you,
did.
watch this. Yeah, it's just that same thing over and over again. But at some point, people stop doubting you, and you just get to be humble. And I think he's there. Uh, why there's no need to be like that, and when you got nothing else to prove, kind of you got nothing else to prove.
Yeah, so he pretty much took over that business when he was, I think, 2021. I mean, there was a little story there, but he seen it was going down and he wanted to go up, and he was going through a hard time in his life, and he's like, you know what? It's like, fuck everybody. This is what I'm going to do. And he's like, he about 15 years ago, we talked one day, had a little heart to heart, and he's like, by the time I'm 50, by the time he was 50, he wanted to basically do no more work. He just wanted to be the guy that run around and take care of all the jobs.
Hmm.
Six now, he's been doing it for about 8 years. It was like 17 years ahead of time.
Well, and I mean,
He still wanting to grow more.
and you said it here today, like you in your head are like, in the next 10 years this is kind of the thing that I'm doing, and it comes very natural when you're good at that stuff, but that is a 10-year plan. And like, people don't have a fucking 5-year plan or a 6-month plan. Like it's insane. But then when you take a look at the guys like you that are, what's that?
Some don't know what they're doing tomorrow.
And that's exactly my point. So when people are like, well, how is he so successful down there? And how is he doing all this stuff? It's because you have a plan and you stick to it. And plans deviate, man. The adventures threw a huge wrench into any sort of plan I'm sure you had prior to October last year. But why
Yeah,
not?
me and Nick talked about doing a whole traveling thing years ago, but I think for the most part it was kind of like a pipe dream.
Yeah.
We talked about, it, we laughed about it. It was like, oh, okay, it probably never happened. And then opportunity came up and it was like, hey, we can actually do this. So now we're all doing it. So it's like, that's pretty cool. I mean, I like that it's happening. I mean, it's a pretty cool thing. It's not something I thought I was legitimately going to do, but now that we're all doing it, it's like, yeah, why can't we keep doing it? I mean, even if it's off the radar, I mean, we're still going to do it. I mean, why not?
Yeah. And it works.
Yeah,
It
those plans back in 2017 when I get out of the factory. I said, this is what I want to do. I said, someday soon. And I kind of put myself on the 5 year thing because that was like the popular thing. Everybody's got a 5 year plan. I was like, within 5 years, I want to be able to go from new construction house to new construction house. I just want to go from house to house to house. And that's where me and Scott started talking. And I told him what I want to do. And he's like, you're wrong. He's like, you don't want to do that. I said, what do you mean I don't want to do that? He's like, you don't want to go from house to house. He's like, you want to have two or three houses at a time. I was like, how the hell am I going to do that? And he's like, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. I mean, it went from I wanted house to house. Now it's like, well, you've seen it. Cam just seen it, and the girl's seen it too. Where I'm moving tools from house to house to house, and it's not just because I'm finishing one and going to the next. It's because there's three going, or two are going, or four are going. I mean, I got we're finished. We finished up two today. Putting a finishing up a bed coat tomorrow. Another one. Scott's hanging one Monday. Got two big fresco jobs. I got two more jobs, two more new construction houses. That's going to be hung and finished before I even leave for Surrey.
Hmm.
Another one before I even get back. So I was like, it's going to be just constantly just moving.
So
It's a headache, but at the same time too, it's a nice thing because, like Scott would say, is like if you have problems with drying over here, or somebody calls in, you can sit there and use those as excuses to keep bouncing around and keep making progress. But at the same time too, you're not waiting for a check every week and a half, 2 weeks. It's like you're getting one like every 5 to 7 days, and it just the cash flow just is always there. Not saying that's always great because there's times where, well, a couple weeks ago I was hitting bottom of the barrel, but now things are looking pretty good. And it's going to look that way for the rest of the summer because the rest of the summer is just, oh my God, it's crazy.
just go, go, go.
And it's houses, it's big houses,
Hmm.
but
I,
18 to 20 houses, board feet. And then, we got the big one there. We're, me and Scott's still looking at it. We're hitting pretty close to 44,000 board feet on. We're still not really done like dissecting the floor plan. So, and I've still yet to meet with Mark.
I wondered. I was going to ask you.
Yeah, yeah, I talked to him yesterday a little bit. And he's like, I want to get all my ducks in a row before we sit down and talk. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I like that. I respect that. Just like keep in touch. But he's one of those guys. He's like, I will talk to you when I have everything ready to go for you. I was like, okay, I get that. But that's what I do like is he don't want to sit down and talk until he has all the information.
I mean, I always demand a site meeting at the beginning of every site that I'm involved with. And if that's just me and the builder or me and everybody who's going to be in, like when I'm running a site at the very beginning, we're having every single trade for a meeting. And it's just the way that it is because what's the expectation? What's everyone's plan? And then once you know, you can kind of guide the site through that. But on the same hand, I'm not having that meeting until I have all of the information because like we all sat down for that sit down at the Surrey site and like there were questions and it's like we don't know. Well, then what the fuck are we all here doing this
Right.
meeting for, you know? Um,
That's kind of like Mark likes doing things. He likes to break it up. He's like, okay, we got the first phase, second phase, third phase. Okay, now we'll talk to Chad.
mhm.
He likes to do it that way because it's easier because he does do all that stuff on his own versus having like project managers and stuff like that. He is the GC, the project manager, the accountant, all that he needs. So he wears many hats versus just one.
Well, and it's important, man. I mean, now if you were to take a look at his bank account, it probably reflects that. Where, you're not paying out 80,000 a year and 60,000 a year and all these like those are big numbers that you got to pay somebody else to do what you can fucking do on your own. Do it on your own, man. And then if that means a guy's trying to have a meeting with you for 4 weeks, it just is what it is. Like if you want to cry about it, go ahead, but that's not how the shit works. And if you can be stern like that, you can have a pretty successful business.
Yeah, it's frustrating on my part, but yeah, I get it. But then once we do sit down, it's going to be everything's going to be on a piece of paper and
Hmm.
it's going to be set in stone. So just got to get there, which we talked about meeting tomorrow about. I'm actually probably going to back out of it. But yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll sit here bugging him for 2 weeks, and here I was like, well, I might just back out.
Yeah, like I might go play with some fresco tomorrow instead. Yeah.
Play golf.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
Insulation in sometime.
That's so funny. Yeah, man. So you're flying in on Thursday, you said.
Yeah, I'll be there. I think it's like I'll be in Vancouver like at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Perfect. So is your plan just to kind of like get a hotel and just relax for a day, or are you gonna head to site?
Original plan is to relax for a day, but
Yeah, I doubt it. I doubt you're gonna be able to do it, to be honest.
I can't sit idle too long, especially when I know shit needs to be done.
Yeah.
Not that I'm going to save the job or anything, but it's like, hey, if I could go do something, it's like, may as well go do it.
Yeah, I mean, I took another look at all the numbers and stuff, and like, there's 1,000 feet of bead that has to be put on, and like, there's going to be pre-fill and all that kind of shit. I would like that Monday to be tape day, no bullshit tape day. So that kind of gives us a couple of days over the weekend to install the lion's share of the bead. Like, everybody's going to want to have content of putting bead together, so we'll leave some stuff. But
Oh,
like all the stuff that's not going to make good content, sure would be nice to get a head start for everybody. Tape out that staircase so it's not a congestion point. Like, we've talked about all that.
and one thing I was thinking about today was like all the window wraps is like that's get started on like Thursday, Friday, working on the weekends. I mean, there's a lot of window wraps. I mean, I know putting beads on before tape is kind of an issue for some. I mean, I've done it before both ways, and it's not really
Mhm.
been risky business, I guess you would say. But same time too, I mean, especially doing window wraps, I can go ahead and tape 2 foot away from the windows and coat it in at the same time as the beads.
Mhm.
That'll help out a little bit, keep everybody's comfort levels at the same level. So, which at the same time too, that's the correct way of doing it. So,
Yeah, I mean, if you're installing beads first, you take like a foot, maybe a foot and a half of tape, and you run it away from the window, and then you just tape to that now. Like, it's not like you're not putting tape under it. You're just doing it in such a way that it works. And you have to put in all those little 6 inch pieces around the window before you can do you know what I mean? Like, there is a process that goes with it, but it doesn't mean you're breaking the rules. It just means that you're being smart. Um,
all those window wraps, that's going to take a lot of time.
Dude, I know.
They all be mitered in, so I mean, it's not like you can just pull out a pair of tin snips and cut them. And we're going to get a dual bevel, dual angle chop saw in there, and yeah, it's going to take some time.
But that was kind of my whole thought process. Like, if one of us starts taping them in, the other one can start cutting the pieces, and we'll just get a perpetual movement going. Because really, there's only 4 different window types.
Yeah,
So all of those beads should be the same. Obviously, we won't go ahead and do them all the same. We'll go and take our measurements and stuff, but it's I mean, even, when everybody gets there, like, Adriana is going to want to see a lot of that done, and she's going to want to film a lot of it, but that doesn't mean that we can't cut and prep everything. So you just put it together.
yeah.
Like, there's a lot that we can do that will speed
Have
up that
all,
process.
you can have all but like 2 windows, ready to go or something like that.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Yeah,
figured.
I can see like that big, huge window, that 20-foot opening. That'd be a definite good content piece right there. So,
Yeah, and there's a few things in that house that I think are going to be content worthy that should just be left, and then whoever wants to do it can do it. Like, the girls have, like, an agreement with Trimtex. So in my opinion, if they want the content, that's who ought to have it. Um, and it's stuff that makes sense like that. Like, all of the tearaway bead around all those windows. Like, I don't know what we're gonna do, if we're caulking it, or if we're gonna put tearaway bead up against the windows, which I think we should. That's a lot of fucking tearaway bead. Like, that's another 700 feet of tearaway bead, and nobody cares. Like, that is not glorious. Like, it just needs to get done.
yep. Window wraps just suck. I don't care either. They're not fun.
I just hate them so much. The original plan was that the windows were going to be flush with the board, and we were going to shadow bead them all. And I was like, that's a brilliant idea. Let's do that. And then when we went and checked out the house, actually, you pointed it out because you were there last, whatever, a couple weeks ago. And you're like, yeah, we can't be shadow beading these. It's not, they're a fucking window return. And it's like,
I seen all the shadow bead, and I was like, Hish, what are we putting shadow bead on? He's like, well, the windows. And I was like, we can't.
you're like, I bet we're not.
They're not flush. He's like, oh, okay. And I was like, well, was you want to put them down around your baseboards? And he's like, no, 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 we're not doing that. And I was like, Oh, okay. I was like, well,
I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. I don't want to do that again. I've done that twice now, and it's a fucking headache. And it's like, unless it's like, 14 bucks a foot or whatever, like you've got to install them and then you got to coat them. And coating them is on your hands and knees. It's just a pain in the ass. Like get a nice carpenter in there to do a good job and don't worry about it.
oh yeah. I done that on that big house a few years ago, and oh my god, it was such a nightmare. Yeah, I tell you what, we done that for 3 days because they actually hung the board before they decided they wanted the shadow bead down there. We had to go back and
Oh
cut.
no.
We had to go back and cut all that stuff out. Then we had to put all the bead in. Then we had to run it. And what really sucked was at the end of the day, when I had the flooring guys come in, they're like, "Yeah, we don't like it, so just run the flooring all the way up to the wall." I'm like, "Oh, are you kidding me?" We just went through all that headache for nothing.
Unreal.
They ran the flooring up to the wall and we caulked it all in. I was like, yeah, "That's nice."
Cool, bro.
I just ran
Um,
had to go and do the little patch jobs. They put a hole in the walls. They called me back in, and the contractor, when Mark was the contractor, he's like, "Whatever you do, Chad, don't look down when you go in." And I was like, "All right, I'm already looking down." When I
mhm.
looked down, I just immediately walked back out, and I called him up. I was like, "What the fuck is this?" It's like I spent almost a whole week taking care of this, and it was like now it's just nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked down. I was like, "Oh."
I had a conversation with Brad, and I don't think it was on the podcast. When he comes over, it's like a 6 hour thing. And then we try and get, 2 hours on the podcast. But throughout the midst of all that, he was telling me like in the beginning, when people started doing those like trimless around all the doors with the reveal bead, that was all just included in your, dollar or whatever that you were charging. Like they weren't charging anything extra for that. And then, they're sitting there going like, you're gonna have to pay a carpenter to come and trim this shit out anyways. So like it's not free. And I think for a long time people were taking advantage of the finisher where it's just like, yeah, but you could do it, right? It's like, yeah, but not free.
It's extra.
It's extra. It has to be extra.
Like
Um,
that same house, we had a few flush mount doors and windows, and all they wanted was L bead. They did, yeah, it was L bead. So we just butt right up to the casing, and then yeah, I just like oh, I went up to the casing. Took they built it out, and then we put the L bead up to the casing. So like you had a 1/2 inch piece of drywall as trim,
mhm.
and then we just trimmed the L bead all the way around. So it was like just it was all square. I mean, it's pretty plain Jane, but they thought that was going to be a part of the finishing cost. I was like, no, that was an afterthought, and that's a lot of extra work. And I was like,
Mhm.
it's not part of the cost. I was like, well, we put like an extra couple regular corners on. Okay, I'm not going to worry about that. But
Totally. A couple more beads. Like,
now, if I got to trim out your doors and windows with drywall, that's a undertaking. That's not
well,
just put.
I mean, if you look at like tray ceilings in a basement or whatever, like you've got bulkheads all over the place. You don't see that on the prints. Unless you have like a very detailed set of prints that has like an HVAC run and you can understand where your bulkheads are. Horizontal bead, that there's a part of me that wants to be doing that extra too, man. Like I can quote you all the verticals because I can see where they are. But if I show up and there's a couple 100 feet of bulkheads, like that's not fucking the same thing, man. That's extra shit. Um,
They're not
but
going.
it,
They're not as easy to run either. So I
well,
mean,
no.
they're still easy, but I mean, they're not that easy, especially the underside.
Well, you
That's
see,
that's where a lot
I'm
of people that underside.
I'm the total opposite because I can run the box on the underside and then skim it from the
But
ground. Not a
okay,
big
I
deal.
thought I run by hand.
Yeah, well, exactly, right. But I mean, in that basement that I did out in Markham, sorry, in Newmarket, wherever it was. I had Steve from Whippy Drywall come in, and he got on his stilts and he hit all the faces, and I hit all the bottoms. And then same thing, all the butt joints on the ceiling he did, all the butt joints on the wall I did. He did the top of the beads, I did the bottom of the vertical beads. Like it was having somebody on stilts is so clutch. Like nobody's that tall. And I tend to reach. But instead of doing that, you just throw a set of stilts on. Like I'm super excited for the Sure Pro. stilts when we get out there because I'll call you the little people. It's all like point and click. What do you want? What's going to fit? And then you just put them on. He's going to construct me like a Frankenstein set that are 12 inches because that's all I need, dude. Um, like I'm never going to be on 3 feet of stilt. I'm just never going to do it. Like I'm way too top heavy, but to be able to pick three ways from the ground with a 12 inch that'll extend to whatever they're going to extend to, like that is going to be a game changer.
Oh,
And then you guys can all laugh at me walking around like Bambi for the first couple of days. Pretty good, man. I mean,
we got a second for a break.
yeah, totally, man. Yeah, we can do that. We will be right back. And we're back. It's nice saying and we're back because I miss it. I don't miss doing those parts that I used to do. Like I don't know. It was just a waste of time. I hate to say that Nick was right, but he was.
Yeah, half hour, take a 10-minute break. But same time too, it's kind of cool talking between breaks. So
And I drank quite a bit on the podcast back then. So it was a good time to like go mix another drink or whatever, take a piss or whatever. But being able to pause this, like, you got to go to the bathroom or whatever. And I start to see it where people kind of start doing this wiggle thing. And then it's like, do you need to take a break? Yes.
you didn't see me, but I was sitting over here like cross my legs. I was like, oh, my text, you're not seeing it.
Yeah, he seems to be doing a dance. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have to. I put it on airplane mode and I put it on do not disturb so it doesn't come through on the computer because I had a couple of them where it's just like the phone is just fucking constantly going off, dude. Like, I mean, 24 hours a day. It's crazy, man. Like 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll have like notifications from like comments or messages or whatever. Like I'm sleeping, dude. Like, and I don't care because I think it's great that people are messaging and interacting with me, right? But it's my cousin showed me how to mute everything except for specific people. So like if one of the kids needs me or like my parents or like you or him or whatever, like there's like a dozen people that my phone will never not make a notification noise.
Yeah.
um but I
Kind of
mean,
what, kind of what we do here is like when we're at home after work, it's like our phones are on silent, but it's like when we go to bed and say like the weekend the kids are out, it's like when they call or text, it's going to still make a, you still hear the noise.
mhm. Yeah,
But
it's
for the
gonna.
thankfully, we don't have to worry about that. So they're usually Johnny on the spot about being home when they're supposed to be. So
Well, yeah.
most other family members too. It's like God forbid something ever happens and they need to get a hold of you late at night. But
Well, and I've always been that guy. When the shit hits the fan, I've always told people, if you're ever in a situation that you need to get out of or like or whatever, just call me. Like I'm always that guy for a lot of people.
we'll be there.
Um, what's that?
We'll be there.
Well, and that's it. It just is what it is. But I mean, when you have your phone not on silent because of that, and there's, now all these people that are talking to you all day long, it's like I just felt guilty, turning it to silent. But now that I've got it figured out, it's like, watch this.
Like even sometimes like Cam does it too. We'll like turn off our notifications for like Facebook or
Hmm.
Instagram, everything else. So it's like a lot of times before I go to bed, I'll just turn off notifications for any social media. It's like the only thing it's going to get through is a phone call or a text. And then, I mean, like certain times, like when we're on vacation, it's going to be just like certain people can get through.
Hmm.
Yeah, I still get some friends that'll go out to the bars and get drunk. It's like, hey, what are you doing? I was like, man, it's like I'm sleeping. I'm on vacation.
Man, so my best friend is one of these people that gets half cut and then he starts fucking FaceTiming everybody.
Yeah.
And I mean, when the FaceTime comes through with me, I'll answer it and be like, "Are you on fire?" Yeah, no, and then just hang up on him. Like, no, then you are fired. But I mean, when you're sitting around having a good time and then he starts fucking FaceTiming other people and being like, "Look at all everyone that we're with," and it's just like, bro, stop doing that. It's like, I let loose around you, not the rest of the planet.
Right.
It's like, holy fuck, bro.
We'll let
Uh,
everybody.
right? You got like your own personal Burt Crusher. Like, I don't need that shit in my life anymore. Yeah, dude. It sounds like you were pretty calm with everybody there. There were no more Thursday night shenanigans.
Yeah, Cam came in. He's like, "So it's Thursday night in Illinois. What are we doing?" I was like, "Nothing."
Part of me wonders if he wasn't fucking worried, like, you know what I mean? Where he wasn't kind of bummed out, where it's like, well, I just kind of wanted to tear the town up a bit.
No, we was pretty chill the whole time. So we still had some. We got
Uh,
some nice pictures and content coming.
nice. Yeah, I was shocked that I didn't see more everyday goofing around from you guys while everyone was down there. But I mean, you had a lot of fucking work to do.
There's some coming.
Yeah, good, 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 good.
It's all on his phone right now. He's holding back.
I will say that about Cam is it's like that content is fantastic when it gets here. Like, case in point, man, that 5.5 inch box, there was like, I don't know, maybe 8 of us that got it before it
So,
came out, you know? That Cam never did his content, and then his ended up being the coolest, anyways. I think I even said that to him when we were out there, where he was like, man, I never did that content yet. And I was like, yeah, but we all know it's always the best. So don't worry about it. And then it turned into that fishing video. Like, I don't think I've ever seen better content than that, man.
yeah, yeah. He brought that 5.5 inch box for no coats. He had the googly eyes on it.
Oh, no.
I was getting ready to put it on the wall, and I was like, I'm sitting there looking at it. I like, took a side view, and I was like, I don't know this is going to work with the eyes on. He's like, well, I super glued them on. I was like, oh shit.
Well, they're fucking on there now.
Like,
Well,
oh, I'll give it a shot, but it left a hell of an edge. I was like, well, I can clean that up. I ran it for a little bit, and I looked at the box, and it was like the mud was coming down around the eyes. And I was like, oh, that's perfect.
yeah. It's like, and now it looks like a happy face. Yeah.
We had a lot of fun with that box. It was sleazy Susie is what we called it.
Nice.
Yeah,
Sleazy Susie.
there's a little bit more coming with sleazy Susie, and we
I,
actually we had 3 jobs we were bouncing back and forth on. We was trying to get pictures on all 3 jobs of us doing something silly.
yeah.
About the lady was sitting there in a chair the whole time, so we're like, yeah, we're just not going to do it.
No,
Yeah.
because people don't get it, or they just see that you're fucking around in their house, right? Like,
Well, yeah,
because
like
they,
showed you that picture earlier when Mike was over there taping. She actually pulled up a stool and sat there and watched them do it.
it's like, holy fuck, lady. Okay.
She's asking like all kinds of questions. I was like, just tape it, get out of there. Is all you got to do. But yeah,
I I don't
yeah,
mind. I don't mind when people do that if it's hourly. Like, if you want to pay me an hourly rate, I'll fucking talk to you all day because you're paying me to be there. If I'm doing like time and material, it's very different than if I'm doing like a footage price. If I'm doing a footage price and you as the builder want to come hang out, you need to do that another time. Take us to dinner after or some fucking thing because it's like you're killing us every second that we're not running. Um, I
Oh
don't
yeah.
think people get that.
Not even gotten this kind of connotation from Mark, my main contractor, is we have insurance to protect ourselves and anybody that's on the job site. So it's like if you're sitting there in our way and on the job site while we're working, then we're liable for what happens to you. So if
Mhm.
you're even if you're sitting in a chair and well, let's just say we run into you while we're doing what we're
Yeah,
doing, we're doing what we're doing. We're not paying attention to, extra people that shouldn't be there. He's like, yeah, you could sue us. You know, I've never said this to a person before, but I was kind of they alluded to the fact that it's like you can't be here because if I run into you, I
yeah,
may. And it's like not that I want to. It's like I need you to be out of the way. A lot of people they don't understand that, especially in a rural community. It's like, oh yeah, we can do what we want to. It's our house, and it's like, yeah, you can, but something happens while we're here working. It's
yeah.
it's our fault. It's kind
I,
of like you seen like every day when I get done in the job, I take everything and I put it up against the walls.
yeah.
That way, comes in after hours, kids, whatever, they trip over something I just left out in the middle of the floor, like a ladder or a cord or something like that, I'm liable. So I put everything up against the walls. I mean, it's not foolproof, but it's reducing the risk. So I mean,
It
yeah, like planks and stairs, ladders, scaffolds go up against the wall. They're locked in.
mhm.
If you come in there and unlock them and you climb around them, okay, now that's you. That's like when I leave, I got documentation that they're locked in, they're up against the wall, they're not being moved. I mean, if you allow your kids to climb on them, that's well, okay, that's up to you. But everything's out of the way. Kids can run around and not trip on shit, or hopefully they don't. But
Well, yeah, and some kids are rambunctious, but those kids are typically made of rubber.
yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to take every piece of tool and machinery out of the house every single day because I'm not going to do that.
It'd be a full-time job, dude.
Okay. I mean, I got truckloads. We just came home, like me and Kenny both had a truckload and we still left stuff behind.
I must say that, like when you talk to people and they're like, yeah, well, the set of tools is a real investment and I'm not doing it. Like you've got like three sets of tools where, I leave this at one site and I leave that at one site, and then you've got your runaround set that you have. And it's like if you didn't do that, think of all the time you'd be wasting.
Oh, yeah. And then you forget something.
Oh, and then yeah, like then what do you do? Now you got to double back for shit. Like it just doesn't make sense to do that.
It's like we all got a running joke with me. It's like Chad doesn't forget anything. He just forgets everything.
Yeah,
I don't forget anything. I just forget everything.
that's right. Yeah.
This morning I called Cam and I was like, "Hey, you're about ready to leave?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, I'm almost there. I'll meet you at the house." And he's like, "All right." I get there and I was like, "Oh shit." I knew I was forgetting something. He's like, "What'd you forget?" And I was like, "I forgot your check and your doggy cake." Because my
Ah,
daughter made a cake for his dog's first birthday. Because I was like, "Yeah, I forgot the cake and your check." And he's like, "Oh, well, I could just drive by and grab it." I was like, "Yeah, thank God, because I'm not going to double back."
yeah. I
But yeah,
forgot. I forgot your check. That's a big one.
yeah. But case in point, Chad doesn't forget anything, just everything.
Yeah, but you know what? If you know that that's you, you just do things to like facilitate that. Like you get extra tools and shit, and like you know what I mean? Like it. It's not like that is a hindrance to you. It's a cruel reality of being you.
Pretty much. Yeah, no. Cam was only put out like 10 minutes drive, so I mean, I don't think it was a big ordeal. I mean, he's got a 7 hour drive, so another 10 minutes was going to kill him, I guess. I
Totally.
I still felt that, but yeah, I was like, I just can't turn around.
When Cullen met you guys, he got one of Cam's hats, so I commented on it, and he was like, I was kind of nervous because those two guys are like celebrities, and it's like I kind of get it, but when you meet people, like they're just people, man. Like it's the first time I met Phil, I like fucking left him alone. Like I didn't want to like be weird, like I don't want to bother anybody, but
You want to box or anything?
well, yeah, man, like Brian Kitchen and had a photo together, and like yeah, I took a picture with Wolfgang, and like taking pictures with people is weird, because it's like, what do you want that for? This is weird. But I also get it now, like especially in Florida, there were people that like Josh Martin, like getting a picture with him was pretty cool, man. Because when is it going to happen again? Probably fucking never, or at the next show. But some people just don't make it to the next show. Like I got a picture with Lydia at the first show, and she didn't make it this year. So it's like some people you might just never meet again, and it's just nice to have that reminder later in life where it's like, yeah, I guess we do meet a few people here and there, right? And I think some people do it just to be like, look at me. And I mean that's never me. As much as I fucking like to joke about that it is, it's like I don't give a fuck.
After Vegas, yeah, me and Lydia talked a few times, and I'm sure she probably doesn't recollect, but we talked about music quite a bit years ago, and then seen her out in Vegas last year. I want to get a picture with her, but it's like she had her whole entourage, and I was
I
like, I'm
know.
not gonna bother her with it. It was like I was over there with drywall ticks. We're just all talking, so I was like, oh, yeah, we're having a pretty good time, just shooting a shit, and then it's like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna take off. It's like, how about a picture? I was like, oh yeah, that's fine. It was the funniest thing. It was like, we gotta check this picture, make sure it's social media acceptable. I was like, oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, they're
No,
not like one eye in it looking fucking weird or something.
just making sure there's like some weird guy's not going to post some kind of crazy pictures of him. So, which I understood. I mean, that was a total acceptable situation. So it was just kind of cool. It's like, that's kind of like Colin was saying, like me and Cam were, I guess, celebrities. It was like, I followed him for years and it was like, I met him in person. I was like, oh, it's pretty cool. But it's like, again, it's just, they were just down to earth people too. So I
See,
love that conversation. It was hilarious. Oh my, I'm not going to go into details, but yeah, it was hilarious.
yeah, I mean, I think because of the podcast, like when I meet Cullen, it's just going to be like seeing one of my buddies, right? We're in a group chat together, and he's been on the podcast twice. I've got him on my Snapchat or whatever. And so I hear from him all the time. Like same with Josh from High Cut Drywall. When I meet him, it's just gonna be like seeing one of my buddies. So I think maybe that's why it's not a huge like weird thing anymore because it's like you kind of get to know people, man. Um,
Yeah, it's kind of
yeah,
like Colin pulled up in the driveway. Me and Cameron just out here in the garage hanging out, and then Colin comes up, and I just, to me, it was just like, I mean, he's literally just like another one of the guys from around here. So it was like nothing new. I mean, just we sat here and bullshitted for I think a good hour. It was fun. I mean, it was just another guy. I mean, it's not like I didn't see him as a celebrity, or I didn't think I he talked to me and Cam like we were just normal people too. So it was like I didn't see it that way, but maybe he did.
yeah,
But yeah, I don't see myself that way. It's kind of like Joel Gilbert says, like I'm just another finisher, just like you guys are. So like, don't sit
yeah.
put me in a different bracket than anybody else. It's like we're all just people.
And I feel the same way, man. And it's like I think once somebody has followed you for a long time, they get to know you, but then it gets weird that you don't know them at all. Um, do you know what I mean? And maybe that's the thing. That was the feeling I had with Phil. It was just like the impact that like his content has done for me. Like it's just for me to try and explain that would be super fucking weird for one. And then, for two, it's like he doesn't see it or because you're not like just like anybody else. If you're a humble person, you're not walking around going like, "Oh, I'm fucking helping everybody all the time and everybody should kiss the rings." Like that's not the case. Um but I mean, you as the person that really knows somebody, and then you meet them in real life, like it's kind of, it is kind of like that celebrity, I guess, because it's just that you know them more intimately than they know you, maybe, and like you don't want to be weird about it. Um, one of the guys from Ames came up at the end of the show and was like a really nice guy, but you could tell he was like physically uncomfortable, and like he was like, I think I know you from Instagram. And I was like, okay, like, is everything good? And he was like, I'm not gay. I'm not gay. And I was like, I don't care. I don't care if you are, buddy. Like, do you want a fucking hug or like, what are we doing here? And then, and then he settled down a little bit and it was just like, yeah, dude, everything's good. Don't worry. And I mean, that's one of the most memorable moments of that whole show for me that somebody knew who I was and came and said hello. I thought that was fucking awesome. Um, but I
Yeah,
mean,
Cam told me that story. I laughed my ass off.
oh my God, man. And it's just like,
I'm married.
yeah, I have a wife, and I'm like, all right, like, yeah, everything's good, bro. Um, super nice guy though. I kind of wish that I had got like his card or something to at least be able to shout him out because it was like, he's a nice guy. Um, and from Ames to have someone from Ames come over to the Columbia booth and fucking be nice like that, it's always kind of funny.
Yeah, I'm automatically thinking of another company that would never do that, but I'm not going to say that.
Right. When Josh Martin came to the booth, like he's a tape tech guy, and everybody knows he's a tape tech guy. And I kind of like wandered him around, like maybe look at this new carbon fiber handle and stuff. And he's like, I'm handing it to him. He's looking at it, and Caden's fucking taking pictures of Josh Martin holding the Columbia stuff. And I was like, yes. I hope that's on a fucking video one day. And the joke to me is if he ever sees that video, he'd be like, son of a bitch. We got you, Josh. Uh, Super cool. He's a big guy. He's a real tall guy. I'd had no idea.
I didn't either until I seen pictures of him with like other people down there at the show, and I think I seen him next to Scott Montgomery, which I knew Scott was pretty tall too.
Hmm.
Well, he's taller than Scott, and I was like, yeah, he's a big guy.
I really liked seeing Scott this year. Like we got to spend that time last year, and I've you follow along and stuff, but it's like when are you ever going to see them? You're not. You're going to see them at these shows, right? And it's like I don't know. It's cool, man. I think it's cool. Good, man. I think we're probably at 2 hours.
Oh yeah.
I would think so. Do you got anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, we could talk about all kinds of things, but
No, we could do this for 4 hours. That's why I'm kind of.
yeah, I'm just getting excited for next week going to Surrey,
Me
and
too, man.
yeah, I'm kind of like Cam and the Gilberts and you. Like the last few weeks, especially me. I mean, I got a chance to work with all of you guys, all within a few weeks period before we all go out there, and I think we're all kind of anxious about going out there and having all these different techniques and ideas. And I think especially with the girls, they were totally different than everybody else, and I think they're feeling a lot better about it now that they
Good.
can incorporate their ideas and our ideas all together, and it's going to
Well,
work out.
and I mean, I think the nice part about that is like I'm showing up to that site with a bunch of friends that are already there, like people that I like, love and respect. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's like worst case scenario, there is no worst case scenario. But I mean, I'm real happy that they were able to go down. They met Cam for the second time. They got to meet you in person. Like, it's nice to know that people aren't just full of shit, or like if they're not like terrible outside of social media. Like I'm sure there's a lot of anxiety, especially with being a woman with a bunch of I'm a fucking big guy. So it's like you never want to sit there like, oh, is this guy a weirdo or whatever? Like, well, but it's a legitimate concern, I would assume. So it's nice that everybody got to head down to your place. So it's like your place was like the prep for Surrey, right? Where everybody's going to show up and they're all going to be friends. And I mean, like Teek's coming. I'm super excited to meet Teek, man. Like we've had some back and forth. But I mean, she knows the girls really, really well. So it's like she's got friends there. Cam and I met Danny in Florida. Like we all kind of know each other. And that nobody's like weird or whatever.
The only two I really don't know is Danny and Teak, and I mean, I think hanging out with the girls for a little bit, listening to talk about stuff, and then like kind of how they're pretty similar and whatnot. It's like, I'm pretty excited about meeting her. I mean, we've talked a little bit, but not a whole lot. But I mean, like Danny, we talked a little bit too, just not a whole lot either. Of course, you know me, I'm either closed off or I'm not. So
Totally.
I'll pull your phone up, and there's other days you'll talk to me and be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, you just almost get just like a thumbs up and you're like, okay.
There's no rhyme or reason to how I deal with people. It's just like maybe it's my mood, maybe it's just a day or what I got going on. I don't know. I just I'm not a big people person, so but once you get me talking though, obviously, you know me, I can talk your head off or I'll bore you to death.
Yeah, I mean, on a personal level, I'm really not a people person. But I mean, when I get to know somebody and I'm comfortable around them, I'm like, yeah, man, like whatever you need, just give me a call. Even if it has nothing to do with work. Like if you're having a tough day, give me a call. And I'm like that because I don't just give my number to everybody either.
Right.
Right. So it's like if you ever really needed anything, you could always just call me. Cam and I for a little while there were having like a fucking weekly call just to kind of catch up. And I do the same thing with Nick. I do the same thing with you. I do the same thing with Aaron. Like you just get to know people. Um, yeah, I'm real excited about it, man. It's I kind of like playing around with Danny from like a 10-foot stance kind of thing, right? Like we never nothing's ever got overly personal, but like he's exactly what you think he's going to be. And I mean, I remember watching Tough as Nails with my parents and like rooting for this like fucking person I would never meet. And then I sent a picture of me standing with him to my mom, and she was just like, "That's so cool." I'm like, "Yeah, but just don't tell anyone." Like, yeah, I'm fanboying pretty hard. Uh,
I remember that. I just started following him, and then we started watching. We was watching TV when I was like, "Oh, we gotta find something different to watch." And Tough and Nails popped up, and I was like, "Yeah, we'll watch this." And I was like, "Oh, I know this guy." I don't.
mhm.
I was like, I follow him on Instagram. And I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "All right." I was like, "Whatever." But
Well,
that pretty
he
cool
kind
to get. So
what's that?
I mean, pretty cool to actually meet him now. So I
Oh
mean, I
yeah.
have followed him for years and years, and then watch him on TV, and it's like now I'm going to see this crazy animal in person. So
He was like having a puppy around, man. He is so full of energy. It's almost unbelievable. And like he doesn't drink and like do you know what I mean? Like he is just a ball of energy. You can almost see him vibrating. And like he drinks a lot of fucking pop too. So there's a lot of sugar and caffeine flying through that system of his. Um yeah, man, I'm excited to see him work though, because like on a professional level, like personally, I think he's great. But professionally, like I really think he's great. So that's going to be a lot of fun, man. I think I hold everybody in high regard professionally because it's like, I watch your work. I make sure that I watch the work. Um, with the girls, they got a lot of content out. So it's like, I think just through my story, I don't even see half of it, I bet, just because it's like for the amount of time that I'm on there. But when I do, like, I'm always trying to engage. The troll group is real good for that. Like, if you've got a new reel out or whatever, you'll post it in that group and people will take a look and comment and stuff. So it's kind of kept me up to date. But prior to that, it was like, I hope nobody thinks that I don't care because there's so much of it. And I just really, a lot of my time is in the DMs talking to people that are engaging with the stories and that kind of stuff, checking in on my buddies. Um, yeah, it's an interesting animal, man. It really is. But it'll be good, man. That's just that little ring is just getting a little bit wider, a little bit wider. There's like 20 of us now that like we all really know each other pretty good. Um, and that,
where I'm little eyes what the little eyes do on social media is like that's time consuming sometimes. But yeah, just kind of like what you were saying. It's like it's not that you're dismissing other people. It's just you got certain people that you're going to check in on.
well, and I always feel like I'm overstepping as well with some people. Like for me to like ask you how your personal life's going and I don't know you, that's like, why are you asking me that shit? Like, do you know what I mean? Until like I've like shared a meal with somebody or really gotten to know them. Because on the other hand of that, some people might like I'm a lot. I know that I am. Uh, so it's like maybe, somebody respects you as like a tradesperson, but like on a personal level, like, dude, you're fucking too much for me. And that's always what I think about. So I try and give people space until you really get to know them. Cause it's like it's not necessity that people talk to you. It's like kindness. And you never want to like take too much advantage of that. You know what I mean? Or at least have the feeling that you are. I'm always very, I don't know. It's always in the back of my head. I always felt like I was bothering everybody my whole life. I'm like big and clunky and always in the way and all that kind of shit. Yeah, I don't know. It's cool shit though, man. I'm real excited for this fucking board to be done.
I just keep sitting there thinking it's like 7 years ago I was begging for a pass job, and
Yeah.
now I know guys and we're traveling all over the place doing crazy shit. It's like that's pretty awesome. I mean, I don't know. I don't get arrogant about it, but at the same time too, it's like I just want to talk about it, and some people get put off by it. But it's like it's like I'm proud. Fucking
That's a tough line to walk too, man. I mean, like when I'm around like my personal friends that have been around from the beginning, it's like when they ask me what I've been up to, it's like I don't want to talk about it, man. Like it's gonna feel like the whole thing's about me, and it's gonna feel like I'm fucking boasting, and that's not what it is. If you're asking, I'll tell you, but it's like it's a lot. There's a
yeah.
lot going on.
There's times where I catch myself talking about stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, so like, what's going on with you?
Yes.
Like, cut it off, and I'm like, oh, what's going on with you? Because I don't want to feel like that, but at the same time, it's like it always comes back to it's like, no, seriously, man, it's like you're doing this. It's
Yeah,
like, yeah,
and
but at the same time, I don't.
I'm super proud of everything that we've done, like all of us. So if somebody wants to talk about it, I'm always happy to. But I mean, when I go see the guys from around here, we drink beer in a garage kind of thing. So when they're like, "What have you been up to?" It's like, how much time do you got? Is that what we really want to do here for the next fucking 3 hours, or do you just want to hang out? Like, nice enough, my friends are polite enough to be like, yeah, we don't want to do that for the next 3 hours. So just say you're fine.
So what's Sally been doing down the street?
Yeah, like tell me about you guys. Because the other part of that is if anybody really cares what you and I are up to, they can look, right?
Yeah.
You can catch yourself up on everything that I've been doing. But like my friends, like they're not on social media like that. So it's like I when I see people, I really want to know what's up with them. And that's why I'm there. Like that's why we're doing what we're doing. So it's weird, man.
Well, like when you were back here in December, my buddy Todd came over, the builder.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about all this shit.
No.
He just come over, have a couple of beers, and just talk shop or just sit there and have a good laugh. And
Yeah.
well, yeah, we laughed a lot.
Oh yeah. About a third of a bottle of fucking honey whiskey, I think added to that. When he walked onto this last site that we were on, I was like, I fucking know this guy from somewhere. And I'm trying to like get it through my head. And then I was like, that's why I don't remember because the guy we were slugging on a bottle the whole time he was at your fucking house. So I was like, ah, I remember.
He's a lot of fun. Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, and he was a riot too. Like the guy's legitimately super funny and super cool guy. Like, yeah, you would never think if you caught up with him in a bar that he was like a major builder down there. You know what I mean? He's just very chill.
Oh yeah. As well as that's a bad thing about him too. Is like a lot of people look at him like, well, you look like a redneck or backwoods, whatever. He's like the most intelligent person you ever meet.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
man. Well, and what the hell was he making? It wasn't bird feeders or can crushers or something, but it was something that he was building where he goes around and gets the fucking parts for it. And like we talked about that for like an hour.
He's a
And then
tinkering type of person, but yeah, he's insane mechanically, construction, whatever. I mean, he's as long as he can wrap his brain around it, he's good at it. I mean, he's good at everything he does.
I feel like it had something to do with garage door openers.
Oh yeah, he made a can crusher of a garage
Yeah,
door.
yeah, see, I fucking kind of remember.
Yeah, how the hell did you figure that out? He's like, oh, I was just sitting here one night, drank a few beers, and I was like, I was getting tired of like stomping on my beers, so I was like, I knew I had to replace the garage door, so I took it down, and he's like, hey, I can cut this down and push a button and crush my cans.
Do you want to shout out your daughter's dog stuff?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
is that going to be something that's going to be available? Like, if like, or is she going to sell them from frozen? Like, will she ship them?
yeah,
Good.
yeah. Actually, I think she's got a few people from out of state last night that got with her, and then Corey was getting ready to put an order last night. I don't know if he did or not yet, but he's actually wanting to put her in touch with his brother-in-law who does something similar. So that's pretty
Nice.
cool. But, yeah, she's I think she was kind of not too excited about running the business by herself, but then she done that show last night and get all these contacts and
Mhm.
seen what she can do with it, and she's all excited now. So
Good.
she made like $600 in 2 hours last night. So
I mean, that opens your eyes up a little bit.
she done a lot of hard work, and then yeah, in a couple hours she realized it was like, hey, it's like all this hard work pays off.
Hmm. Well, and
Well,
that's why I was saying buy a bunch of them, but don't do it at the beginning. Like, if she's got a bunch left over at the end, I'll take, like, I don't have a fucking dog. I'm just doing it to be helpful. But I mean, like I'll give them out to people that have dogs. But I mean, if she's going to sell out, let her sell out because the people down there are going to buy again and again, right? But yeah, if there's extra sitting around, you make sure you scoop me up some.
no, and then remember that guy Nick where we done like the Venetian plaster and Potola in his bathroom there.
Yep.
His whole family has a bunch of Italian restaurants around here. Well, after the show, she met up with Nick's brother's wife, and they done like a little photo shoot outside the restaurant with their dogs with the treats, and then they want to put up a table in the restaurant now, and which
Ah,
they're very influential on there. So she's like totally excited about it, and I mean, they're like going all out. They're posting all over Facebook and Instagram stuff like that. So she's getting pretty excited about that. And then I said something. Corey texted me last night. He's wanting some. I was like, now you got somebody from Nebraska wants some stuff too. She's like, what? So she went on to she does the Square Reader where she can do the credit cards and all that stuff.
brilliant.
So her plan to where she can do even up to Canada now too, so she can do international and statewide. And I was like, oh, there you go. So yeah, she's getting pretty excited. We'll see where it goes, but
Dope.
so for now, yeah, she's 17, so she may give up on it in 2 weeks, but maybe in 2 weeks she's gonna be like, no, we're doing all this.
Hmm. Well, and I mean, if it pays, that's a hell of a thing, man. When you find something that you're passionate about and you're able to just do it and make money and enjoy your life, like you can't beat that, man. What else are you gonna do? Work at fucking Subway or something like it, you're just never gonna be happy doing that.
But yep, she's got other ideas, but at the same time too, she's gonna ride it with it for a while. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And at the same time too, she's got plenty of time ahead of her. She's only 17, so
Totally, man. If I could have gotten into my headspace that I could do things on my own when I was 17, I'd be a totally different person.
I waited until I was 36.
Bro, I know. That's nuts. Oh. Well, good, man. Are you on any other platforms or just Instagram? No, you're on Facebook.
Facebook too.
So it's Chad Hesser on Facebook, Hesser Drywall on Instagram.
Hesser Drywall on Facebook, but yeah, I got my personal page too, which
Oh yeah, sorry.
whenever I share anything on Instagram, is going to my personal page on Facebook versus the business page. First, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not tech savvy anymore. I can't figure out how to change it back, but
Mine's
once
the same way. I just put the insignia for the business on mine. I have the business page, but it's like that's never going to do anything for me. Like the same with you, man. The marketing from where? Out of state? Everybody knows you down there, bro.
I don't worry about Facebook anymore. It's just pretty much Instagram. That's where everybody I talk to is at. And anytime I tell anybody if they want to see something like fresco or Venetian, it's like just go to Instagram.
Hmm.
But
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks here, buddy. Not even a couple of weeks. Next week.
so
That's
yes,
dope.
yeah, I'll be in Surrey this time on next Thursday.
Yeah. Yeah, that's in a week. Pretty
Might be
cool.
soft drinking Canadian beer that's stronger than mine.
I know you better watch out. I gotta get us some like real beer and see if you can have a few of them.
There you go.
Yeah, we're gonna knock you on your ass, I think, when we're out there. All right, everybody. Be humble, treat everyone the same, and do your fucking job.